Chapter 256. The short elder was clearly a demon general, and his aura had already reached the peak of the immortal creator realm. Behind him, there were 1,000 demon soldiers who were equally short and had bulging scimitars on their backs. They held daggers that glowed with white light in their hands. They looked coldly at Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan, as though they would pounce on them in the next moment. The 1,000 demon soldiers had auras that were above the 5th level of the Dharma Laksana realm. Their auras seemed to be connected. It seemed like they were using some kind of powerful combo attack. Jin Luan's heart sank when he saw this. Although the number of demon soldiers this time was much smaller, their combat strength was not much weaker than Yenda's demon army. When Jun Haoyan saw this, he slapped his forehead and said helplessly, "Why do we have to come one by one? It's like breaking through a barrier." When the short elder heard this, he laughed and said, "As great demon generals, we naturally can't be outnumbered." However, before he could finish his words, Jun Haoyan's voice rang out. "I'm afraid that you are all sealed in a fixed area on this mountain. You can't move at will." Jun Haoyan sneered as he looked at the short old demon general with some amusement. When the short elder heard this, he was stunned. Then he looked embarrassed and said, "I didn't expect you to see through it. You're pretty smart, kid. No wonder you killed Yenda. I like it." The old imp looked at Jun Haoyan with admiration. "However, Yenda is my brother. You killed him, so you have made an enemy of me. How can I not take revenge? Human boy, give me your life." Suddenly, the old man gnashed his teeth furiously. He seemed to have become extremely angry as he gave the order. "Get into formation." As soon as he finished speaking, the 1,000 short demon soldiers behind him raised the daggers in their hands at the same time. Demonic chi surrounded them. When they connected, they seemed to have the power of the immortal creator realm. A silhouette of a dagger glowing with white light floated above the demon army. Its sharp aura was like a venomous snake, but also like a cold arrow hidden in the dark, causing people to feel a chill in their hearts. "Kill!" The old imp shouted angrily. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. The dagger in his hand shone with a cold light. He led the demon army toward Jun Haoyan. It seemed that he wanted to fight Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan head-on. When Jin Luan saw this, his body shone with Buddhist light. He emitted endless golden light and was about to attack the demon army. When Jun Haoyan saw this scene, he let out a cold laugh. He didn't care about the old imp in front of him. He turned around and faced behind him. Celestial Demon God Technique. Then behind Jun Haoyan a thick fog spread out. A huge shadow of a sea of blood slowly emerged. It was like a demon god that suppressed the world, shaking the earth. In the endless sea of blood, 12 figures like demon gods separated from the thick fog and descended into the void. They stood behind Jun Haoyan. At the same time, endless divine power was added to Jun Haoyan's body. He was like a ruler above all living things. He was like the king of kings, the god of gods. Jun Haoyan's fist, which carried endless divine power, suddenly blasted toward the void behind Jin Luan. The terrifying fist power directly squeezed the air into a vacuum. Jin Luan was originally attacking the demon army in front of him. However, when he saw Jun Haoyan attacking the demon army behind him, he was very puzzled. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's fist had already fallen behind Jin Luan. What surprised Jin Luan was that the fist, which was supposed to hit the void, suddenly seemed to have hit something. It made a roaring sound of metal colliding, shaking the world. Then, to Jin Luan's surprise, the figure of a short old man slowly floated in the void. He was holding a dagger. He seemed to be trying his best to resist something. Behind him, there were a total of 1,000 demon soldiers. Obviously, they were the demon army from before. Jin Luan looked at this scene and was extremely surprised and puzzled. Wasn't this the demon army from before? How could there be another one? Could there be two identical demon generals and demon armies? Jin Luan turned back from time to time and asked. There were no demon generals and demon armies on the mountain range. It was empty. There was no trace of them. So it was the demon general's trick. Jin Luan suddenly felt a little apprehensive. The demon generals and demon armies behind him were obviously coming for him. If Jun Haoyan had not discovered it in time, he would have been stabbed to death by the demon general's dagger. Jin Luan turned around, and looked at the demon generals who were resisting Jun Haoyan's fists. He suddenly felt a little lucky. Good boy. I didn't expect you to be so smart. I can see through your great bewitching formation. Demon General Mida narrowed his eyes and looked at Jun Haoyan. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. The demon generals and demon armies that he had shown before were just illusions. The current him was his real body. Since he had killed Demon General Yen Da's men, Mida naturally would not let his guard down. He planned to directly launch a sneak attack. First he would get rid of the weaker one. Then he would gather all his forces and attack Jun Haoyan. However, he did not expect Demon General Jun Haoyan to see through his plan. Demon General Mida. Jun Haoyan looked at the old demon general, who was clenching his teeth and persevering. His sleeves were somewhat indifferent. This demon general was indeed in the form of an old man. It was as if he had used the longevity creator realm fruit to launch a sneak attack on Jin Luan, a longevity 10,000 years realm human. It could be said that he was extremely vicious. If it was not for his divine soul, which was already very strong and could see through Mida's hidden figure in demon armies, he would probably have been separated by Mida at that time. He will be fine, but Jin Luan, the Arhat of the Little Thunder Temple, will suffer. This demon general Mida's strength is one level higher. Jun Haoyan was slightly surprised to see Mida block his punch. However, this is as far as it goes. Jun Haoyan snorted coldly. The 12 demon gods behind him suddenly turned black, and the fog behind them directly turned into darkness. More than 3,000 demon hands turned into demon chi. It turned into a dark and gloomy devil chi. 3,000 devil hands trembled behind Jun Haoyan's back, causing him to tremble in fear. This was Jun Haoyan's divine ability of furnace, nurturing 100 scriptures. He used the heaven-devouring demonic art to display the all-heaven demon body demonic art. At this moment, the endless demon chi of the 12 peerless demon masters was added to Jun Haoyan's body, making him look like a demon king among demon kings. He had a peerless appearance, as if a demon king had descended from the heavens to bring disaster to the mortal world. Moreover, when the demon king's power was added to Jun Haoyan's body, the mysterious power given to Jun Haoyan by the 6 divine kings did not weaken. The combination of the 2 great blessings made Jun Haoyan's power as terrifying as the demon tune. Could it be that the Holy Lord of Langya has turned into a demon? Jin Luan looked at Jun Haoyan's changes, and his heart was somewhat puzzled and confused. At this moment he suddenly had an illusion. It was as if he was standing beside him at this moment, fighting side by side with him. Moreover, Jun Haoyan was a peerless demon lord, and he had the illusion that he was about to bring disaster to the world. However, when Jin Luan looked at Jun Haoyan's eyes, he knew that it was an illusion. It was only an illusion, because at this moment, there was no trace of irritation and blood-killing intent in Jun Haoyan's eyes, which were the characteristics of the demon race. There was only the light of clarity and the domineering confidence of the Holy Lord of Langya. It seems like it's just a kind of divine ability to use demon chi. Jin Luan suddenly exhaled a few times, and his heart relaxed slightly. But then, he was very surprised by Jun Haoyan's divine ability to use demon chi. The Holy Lord of Langya is indeed him. His divine ability is always so powerful. Jin Luan gasped in his heart. On the other side, behind Jun Haoyan, 12 pillars of dense demon chi stood upright, and the 3,000 demon hands were unusually frightening. And Jun Haoyan's demon king's disposition was incomparably strong. Celestial demon god technique. Jun Haoyan's eyes were cold. He casually circulated his dharma power and punched towards demon general Mida, who was struggling to resist his fist. This punch not only contained the terrifying power of the celestial demon god technique, but also the astonishing power of the heaven-devouring demonic technique. The two superimposed. The power reached an extremely terrifying level. The void where Mida was suddenly compressed, as if it would explode in the next moment. It was as if 12 demon gods were suppressing this space, and everything within was suppressed to the point of being unable to move. They could only await their final judgment. Mida's face turned red because of this. He suddenly felt an extremely horrifying sense of crisis, inexplicably rising from the bottom of his heart, causing him to feel extremely flustered. Am I, Mida, really going to be killed and fall in the land of karma? Mida muttered in a daze, feeling that he could not resist the boundless fist that was about to descend upon him. No, I can't accept this. I haven't broken the seal and descended to the world. I can't die yet. I have to run. Mida's face suddenly showed a very unwilling expression. Then he wanted to run. However, when he raised his eyes to look around in an attempt to find a way to escape, he discovered that this entire space had been completely locked down by Jun Haoyan's fist aura. At this moment, there was no way for him to escape. He could only stare head-on at the unparalleled fist that was suppressing him with extreme speed. Left with no choice, Mida could only use the dagger in his hand to frantically inject demon chi into it. The demonic aura on the dagger surged. Like a sinister viper, it charged towards the boundless fist aura. However, the dagger was originally known for its sneak attack. It was as powerless as a mantis trying to stop a chariot when it faced Jun Haoyan's terrifying fist head-on. Those that were light and needed to be lifted would be destroyed. No, Mida shouted unwillingly. He could only watch as his natal treasure was smashed into a pile of scrap metal by the terrifying fist force. Mida's face suddenly turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he was annihilated by the fist force that filled the sky. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion that shook the entire demonic abyss took place. Under the watchful eyes of Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan, the smoke and dust that filled the air gradually dissipated. What was left was only a mess. The demon general Mida and his thousands of demon soldiers were blasted into nothingness. This power, isn't it a little too terrifying? Jin Luan stared blankly at all this, unable to react. Jun Haoyan, on the other hand, watched for a while. Then, he turned around and headed for the top of the mountain. Their group was at the top of the mountain. As long as they reached the top of the mountain, all their doubts would be solved. Jin Luan sighed slightly and hurriedly followed. Now they were halfway up the mountain. It would not be long before they reached the strange temple at the top of the mountain. The strange thing was, before they really reached the top of the mountain, they did not encounter any more enemies. Unexpectedly, they were unimpeded all the way. It was not until they reached the top of the mountain and were only 1 kilometer away from the temple that they encountered an obstacle. Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan stopped and looked ahead solemnly. In front of them, hundreds of graceful figures with black wings floated in the void. They were all staring coldly at Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan. They were clearly the Winged Demon clan. The hundreds of figures in front of them were all women. Except for the pitch-black demon runes engraved on their bodies, they were all beautiful women. In front of the hundreds of demon soldiers, there was a figure in the most gorgeous clothes. Her eyes were clear and contained endless killing intent. Clearly, she was a ruthless character. The demon general in the lead is a 10th level immortal creator. The other 200 demon soldiers are at the immortal 5th life realm. Jun Haoyan's gaze swept across the bodies of those flapping black wings. His powerful spiritual energy was activated, allowing him to completely see through the strength of these people. On the other side, Jin Luan used some kind of secret technique to see through the demon soldier's realms. A wry smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. 10th level immortal creator realm. This was a power that even Jun Haoyan had not been able to reach before. Could they still be safe and sound in front of this kind of threat? Human, remember my name. I am Nuye Mohui, the second demon general under Lord Guangwang. The female demon general suddenly said coldly while staring at Jun Haoyan. She looked at Jiang Chun with her cold eyes, as if she was determined to kill Jun Haoyan. Do you think you can defeat me? The female demon general was calmer and more arrogant than the previous two. However, Nuye did not reply. She flapped her black wings slowly and floated in the void. The demon chi in her body was unceasingly circulating. Saint Sword, please, Nuye said sternly. Chapter 257. As the evil woman spoke, a pitch-black stream of air flowed out from her chest. It stopped in front of her and turned into a pitch-black longsword. This demonic sword was about 1 meter long. Its entire body was pitch-black, without the slightest trace of light. It seemed to contain the evilest chi in the world. There was a strange light coming from the sword that sent chills down one's spine. Is this the holy sword of the demons? Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyan was a little puzzled. Glancing at the pitch-black sacred sword, he could only feel the purest evil aura from it. It was similar to demonic qi in many ways. So it's just a trace of sword qi transformed from pure demonic qi. Jin Luan looked at the so-called holy sword and understood the hidden peculiarity. However, although this demonic sword was formed from a burst of demonic qi, it had been nourished by the evil woman's pure demonic qi for an unknown period of time. Its power was definitely not to be underestimated. The sword's power might be on par with a high-grade treasure. Therefore, Jun Haoyan concluded that the sword's power should not be underestimated. This demon sword gives me a great sense of danger. Seeing this demonic sword, Jin Luan knew that something was wrong. His body immediately tensed up as he stared at the demonic sword in the evil woman's hand with an extremely cautious expression. However, as an eminent monk of the Buddhist sect, Jin Luan did not feel the slightest bit of fear when facing this demonic sword. He couldn't escape from the evil woman. He could only fight to the death. However, Jin Luan was overthinking. The evil woman didn't take out the sword for Arhat Jin Luan. Her target was Jun Haoyan. The evil woman pointed the sword at Jin Luan. Behind her, hundreds of black-winged soldiers in the 2nd to 10th level of the immortal realm flew toward the Arhat's golden wheel. In an instant they surrounded the Arhat Jin Luan and attacked him from all sides. A black longsword appeared in the hands of the black-winged soldiers. Its qi was exactly the same as the holy sword in the evil woman's hand. They were also nourished by the pure demonic qi in their bodies. However, the power contained in their demonic weapons was much weaker than the evil woman's saint sword. You want to trap Jin Luan with these soldiers and fight me one-on-one? Jun Haoyan looked at Jin Luan and realized what was going on. However, Jun Haoyan wasn't too worried about Jin Luan Arhat, even though he was being held back by an enemy who was several levels stronger than him. After all, Jin Luan was the Arhat of the Vajra Temple. He was the strongest of the younger generation in the Western Desert Buddhism. Even if he couldn't defeat the hundreds of soldiers, he wouldn't be in any danger. The evil woman obviously knew that, which was why she had her goal. She just didn't want to be unhindered while fighting Jun Haoyan. Jun Haoyan and the evil woman looked at each other. They knew what the other was thinking. The evil woman thought that she would definitely win against Jun Haoyan. Jun Haoyan didn't think that he would lose either. The battle between them was about to start. The evil woman raised the pitch-black holy sword in her hand. It grew to several hundred feet long, and pure demonic qi swirled around it. It seemed to contain all the terrifying power in the world. Then, the evil woman looked at Jun Haoyan and opened her mouth, uttering a single word. Kill! The pitch-black holy sword buzzed, as if it was responding to the evil woman. Ju Tai's black figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had disappeared from his original spot. In Jun Haoyan's eyes, he saw the pitch-black devil sword. It carried an unparalleled might that could split the heavens and earth apart, as it pierced towards him at lightning speed. The terrifying might contained within it was probably something that even an expert at the peak of the 10th level of the eternal creation realm would have to shudder with fear when facing the sword strike that shook the heavens and the earth. And he would avoid it. However, Jun Haoyan wasn't going to dodge it. With his current strength, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. The strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant in his body was the bane of all evil energy. It could suppress all evil in the world. He wouldn't be able to dodge it. Jun Haoyan's eyes turned cold. He said, Indestructible heavenly god body. Battle secret. Heaven-devouring demonic skill. Heavenly devil technique. In an instant, 5 peerless divine abilities and cultivation techniques were activated in Jun Haoyan's body. In the blink of an eye, they were activated more than 10,000 times. Indestructible heavenly god body. In the martial god continent, all sects and holy lands had supreme emperor techniques as their cornerstone cultivation techniques. The supreme monarch arts were considered the best among the 3,000 worlds. After activating them more than 10,000 times, Jun Haoyan's body was greatly strengthened. A near-eternal aura was emitted from his body. It gave people the illusion that they were looking at an eternal realm expert. secret of all. It increased all of his attributes by 10 times, whether it was his strength, tenacity, or intelligence. All of it. Both of them had a tenfold increase in strength. At this moment he was the king of all battles. He didn't have any shortcomings. Every part of him was incomparably powerful. It was shocking. Battle secret. This allowed his offensive power to increase tremendously. This was also one of the 9 secrets of the Supreme Being. It wasn't inferior to any Supreme Emperor technique in the world. Even Jun Haoyan's indestructible heavenly god body was inferior to this battle secret. The 3 divine abilities were used by Jun Haoyan at the same time. The enhancement was very impressive. In an instant, the aura in Jun Haoyan's body suddenly increased by several times. An incomparably powerful aura was gradually emitted from Jun Haoyan's body. At this moment, although Jun Haoyan was only in the Eternal Realm, any Eternal Realm expert in the Eternal Realm would be shocked by Jun Haoyan's strength. Opposite Jun Haoyan, the evil woman was the same. Suddenly, Jun Haoyan was incomparably strong. Jun Haoyan was countless times stronger. Even a demon general like her who had existed since the ancient times was incomparably shocked. Even in the ancient times, there were very few people who could increase their strength by so many times in an instant. There was almost no such existence. Sensing Jun Haoyan's aura, the evil woman was a little anxious. She didn't want to let Jun Haoyan continue to increase his strength. The sacred sword that was thrusting towards Jun Haoyan accelerated again. Like a phantom, it crossed an unknown distance in an instant. In the next moment, it arrived in front of Jun Haoyan. The sharp sword light. Jun Haoyan's hair fluttered wildly in the wind. It was as if the sword was going to split Jun Haoyan's body in half. Jun Haoyan's face was cold. He wasn't afraid at all. The heaven-devouring demonic art and celestial fiend god technique in his body were circulating non-stop. Behind Jun Haoyan's back, a thick blood mist spread out. The blood mist this time was different from the blood mist emitted by the celestial fiend god technique in the past. Because the celestial fiend god technique and the heaven-devouring demonic art were circulating at the same time. The spreading blood mist vaguely resembled the pitch-black demonic chi. It was as if a pitch-black night sky had spread out behind Jun Haoyan. It was so dark that not a single star could be seen. In such a pitch-black night sky, a huge, simple, majestic, and domineering boundless sea of blood suddenly appeared. Just like that, it stood in the pitch-black night sky, like an unchanging rock that had existed for countless years. Nothing could change its will. 12 godlike existences appeared. They floated in the boundless sea of blood. Their faces were majestic, and their eyes were cold. It was as if they didn't care about anything in the world. These were the peerless fiend gods. They were above everything in the world. By controlling the boundless sea of blood, they were determined to send all those who refused to submit to them into the cycle of reincarnation. What was different from the usual 12 fiend gods was that there were 3,000 fiend gods that were constantly twitching behind them. The originally 2 completely different cultivation techniques, under the effect of Jun Haoyan's Cauldron 100 Classics, merged into one and unleashed unprecedented potential. And all this potential was added to Jun Haoyan's physical body. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was the divine king, the fiend god. He was above everything, and his strength was incomparably powerful. Looking at the pitch-black holy sword that was about to strike his head, Jun Haoyan's eyes were cold. He suddenly clenched his fist and gathered all his strength. Then he swung it at the holy sword. The small fist collided with the pitch-black holy sword that was hundreds of feet long. In an instant the world was silent. It was as if time had stopped. Then, a loud sound that was so loud that it almost broke one's eardrums rang out. Under Jun Haoyan's fist, the holy sword that carried unparalleled power began to disintegrate inch by inch. It turned into the most ordinary fienki and dissipated. Soon, the holy sword that was hundreds of feet long disappeared. There was no trace of it at all. Puff! The evil woman's face suddenly turned pale. She spat out the holy sword. Although it was directly nourished by fienki, it was still connected to her mind. Since the demon sword was destroyed, she was unavoidably injured. This human is actually so strong. The evil woman looked at Jun Haoyan sinisterly. The resentment in her eyes was unusually obvious. She was sealed in this place. She had no choice but to use Fienki to nourish the holy sword. After nourishing it for so many years, she finally refined it into a holy sword. But now, her holy sword was destroyed by Jun Haotian with a single punch. This caused her to be extremely angry at Jun Haotian. The evil woman stared at Jun Haotian. A similarly pitch-black holy sword appeared in her hand. You have some tricks up your sleeve. You can force me to use my magical treasure. However, unlike the holy sword from before, this holy sword was a magical treasure. It was Nuya's natal magical treasure. It was called the Heaven-Cleaving Sword. In the past, when she was in the divine realm, it could be considered a very powerful divine weapon. With one slash, it could kill a deity. Of course, this was in the past. Even now, the sky-severing sword only possessed the might of a sovereign artifact. In fact, it was even inferior to a sovereign artifact. However, even if it was so powerful, the evil woman felt that it was enough to kill Jun Haotian. The reason why the evil woman was so confident was not because of the sword's power, but because of the sword's special material. The Heaven-Cleaving Sword's material was completely based on the standard of a divine weapon. Its most special feature was that it could carry a trace of divine might. And the evil woman's body just happened to contain divine might. She used this divine might to activate the Heaven-Cleaving Sword. The power it could unleash was unprecedentedly strong. Not to mention Jun Haotian in front of him. Even an undying realm expert would die in the face of this sky-severing sword with hatred. The evil woman's light flickered. She poured the remaining divine might into the Heaven-Cleaving Sword in her hand. Immediately, the Heaven-Cleaving Sword buzzed. Its entire body was suffused with a pitch-black light that made people's hearts tremble. The Heaven-Cleaving Sword did not grow bigger. Instead, it shrunk a little. The aura it emitted became purer and purer. An aura that could split heaven and earth was emitted from the sword. It was frightening. The evil woman stared at Jun Haotian and said, "Die." When she looked at Jun Haotian, it was as if she was looking at a dead man. The pity in her eyes was self-evident. She could not imagine how Jun Haotian could survive such a terrifying attack. Escape with his life. Jun Haotian will definitely die after this attack. This sword is not ordinary. At the same time, Jun Haotian's eyes focused on the Heaven-Cleaving Sword that was piercing towards him like a bloody shadow. His pupils shrunk. A strong sense of crisis shrouded Jiang Chen's heart. It was like a blade floating above Jun Haotian's head. It could take Jun Haotian's life at any time. Jun Haotian did not doubt that if the sword landed on his body, even his body that was strengthened by the eternal secret of wholeness, would not be able to withstand the sword's power. At this moment, Jun Haotian was in danger of dying. However, even so, Jun Haotian only became more cautious. He did not show any emotion. He had many tricks up his sleeves to deal with this terrifying attack. Without any hesitation, a magnificent divine bow appeared in Jun Haotian's hand. This magnificent bow and arrow were gilded in gold, shining like the sun. On the body of the bow, there were simple yet powerful runes engraved on it. Under the light, it was as if a god had descended to this world. The entire body of the bow was made of bones. It was as if it was made from the bones of an extremely powerful being. Just by looking at it, it was like looking at a monstrous beast. It was terrifying. This was the sun-slaying divine bow. It was the divine bow that Hou Yi used to shoot the sun in the sky. It was domineering and majestic, yet it did not lose its simplicity. It was a peerless divine weapon. With the bow in his hand, Jun Haotian seemed to have turned into Hou Yi at this moment. He looked at Wukong with a burning gaze. His target was the insufferably arrogant evil woman in the sky. Jun Haotian's clothes were fluttering in the wind. An incomparably powerful aura was emitted from his body. It was a godly aura that could break through all obstacles. It made people want to bow down and worship him. Jun Haotian pointed at the evil woman with the bow. Chapter 258. The evil woman's eyes flickered. She channeled her remaining divine might into the heaven-slashing sword in her hand. Immediately, the heaven-slashing sword buzzed. Its body emitted a pitch-black light that caused one's heart to tremble. Not only did the heaven-slashing sword not grow bigger, it actually shrunk a little. The aura it emitted also became purer and purer. The heaven-slashing sword emitted an aura that could split the heavens and earth. An illusory arrow naturally appeared on the godly bow. The arrowhead was pointed at the evil woman, completely locking onto her. A strong sense of danger suddenly appeared in the evil woman's heart and didn't dissipate. The evil woman's mind suddenly panicked. She felt that she would die under Jun Haoyan's sun-slaying divine bow that mysteriously appeared out of nowhere. However, the demoness immediately believed in the illusion that had appeared all of a sudden. The evil woman believed that she would really die under this arrow. Thus she was completely flustered. She hurriedly circulated the demonic energy in her body and tried to dodge the godly bow that was pointed at her. However, no matter how she tried to dodge, the cold and domineering arrowhead on the sun-slaying divine bow in Jun Haoyan's hand was still aimed at her. No matter what she did, she couldn't dodge the godly bow's arrow. Nuya's expression greatly changed. At this moment, Nuya was like the golden crow sun in the sky. Endless light illuminated the world and was incomparably powerful. However, under the arrow in Hou Yi's hand, she had nowhere to run. She could only stretch out her neck and wait for death. A trace of despair appeared on her face. This was something she had never experienced before. Even during the ancient times in the divine world, when the supreme existence of Buddhism, Shakyamuni, attacked her and sealed her Lord Demon King together, she didn't feel this way. Under this godly bow she would really die. Moreover, she would die without a doubt. Her soul would be annihilated by that terrifying arrowhead. She wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. What awaited her was annihilation. Jun Haoyan stared at the evil woman in the sky and said. His right hand loosened the bowstring. The illusory yet powerful arrow shot out from the sun-slaying divine bow. It pierced through space and headed straight for the evil woman. One could only see a faint line that didn't seem to exist. This was because the speed of the arrow was extremely fast. Even light could not catch up to the speed of the arrow. In midair, the sky-cleaving sword that was about to fall on Jun Haoyan's head suddenly condensed a sword light, followed by an explosion. With a bang, it exploded into countless fragments and drifted down. Clearly, it was because it had come into contact with the arrow shot from the sun-slaying divine bow. It could not withstand the power of the arrow, and was directly damaged. In the sky, the evil woman's expression turned bitter as she spat out a mouthful of blood. However, she no longer cared about the destruction of the life mandate, because after that terrifying arrow tore apart her life source magic treasure, its speed did not decrease in the slightest, and it was still shooting towards her. Seeing this scene, the evil woman was horrified. She hurriedly used her movement technique and ignored everything else. She flapped her wings and turned around to flee. She frantically tried to escape from the arrow's lock. However, no matter how she flew, the sense of danger in her heart did not lessen. Instead, as time went on, it became heavier and heavier. The evil woman was horrified. She wanted to turn around to see how far the arrow was from her. However, the moment she turned around, a golden light appeared. In her field of vision, a golden light was getting closer and bigger. It occupied her entire field of vision. While she was puzzled, a slight pain flashed across her forehead. Her eyes darkened, and she lost all consciousness. This was only what she felt. Jun Haoyan saw a golden arrow pierce through the evil woman's forehead, bringing with it a string of blood that made one's heart tremble. It pierced through the back of her head. Even the divine soul in the evil woman's mind was directly pierced by the golden arrow and vanished into thin air. In the sky, the fleeing figure of the evil woman suddenly froze. The black wings on her back gradually stopped flapping violently. Without the support of the black wings, the evil woman's body gradually stiffened. Then she freely fell, drawing a beautiful parabola in the air. Finally, with a bang, she fell somewhere on the ground and was covered by the black mountain range. If someone went to check, they would find that not only was her forehead pierced, but there were also numerous cracks all over her body. It was clear that not only was her soul pierced, but all the cells in her body were destroyed in an instant. The blood rebirth ability of the immortal realm couldn't be used anymore. Seeing the evil woman's body fall on the ground of the mountain range, Jun Haoyan's sharp gaze gradually weakened. Jun Haoyan withdrew his hand and retrieved the sun-slaying divine bow. Jun Haoyan wasn't surprised that the sun-slaying divine bow had killed the demon general with one arrow. With the power of the sun-slaying divine bow, it could even shoot down the sun. Killing a demon general was a piece of cake. Then he looked at Jinluan Arhat, who was fighting beside him. After such a long time, Jinluan Arhat had some injuries on his body. Some of them were so severe that his bones could be seen. It was clear that he wouldn't be able to last much longer. However, Jinluan Arhat had killed nearly 1/3 of the 200 winged demon soldiers around him. It seemed that Jinluan Arhat's injuries weren't for nothing. Even so, it would be difficult for Jinluan Arhat to face 2/3 of the winged demon soldiers alone. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan shook his head and flew toward Jinluan Arhat's battlefield. When he reached the battlefield, he casually grabbed the head of a winged demonic soldier and crushed it. This horrifying attack shocked the surrounding black-winged demonic soldiers who were attacking Jinluan Arhat. You aren't you fighting with our demon general Tyren? How? The 3 winged demon soldiers stared at Jun Haoyan in shock and stuttered. Her voice was so loud that it attracted the attention of all the other winged demon soldiers. All the demon soldiers stopped in shock as they looked at Jun Haoyan, who had appeared on the battlefield. Their eyes were filled with shock and doubt. In the blink of an eye, the demon general Nuya who wanted to find them was nowhere to be seen. They could only see an empty space. There was no trace of demon general Nuya. There. Demon general Nuya is there. Some of the winged demon soldiers saw demon general Nuya's body hidden in the mountains. Something had pierced through her forehead, and blood was flowing out. His body was full of cracks. It was obvious that he had fallen and died. Demon general Nuya had died. Demon general Nuya is an unparalleled expert. Although she has been sealed here for many years, her strength has decreased. His strength has decreased, but how could he be killed by such a young human? Could it be that this human created an illusion to confuse us? The winged demon soldiers could not believe that demon general Nuya had died. They began to find excuses for themselves. But no matter what excuse they came up with, demon general Nuya's body was a bloody fact. Demon general Nuya was really dead. Panic rose among the winged demon soldiers. They had been sealed here for many years, and their spiritual belief was demon general Nuya. In other words, their purpose in life was demon general Nuya. But now demon general Nuya was dead. This was like a sunny day for the winged demon soldiers. They floated in the air dazed. They had lost all ability to react. Amitabha. Jinluan Arhat would not let this opportunity slip by. Golden Buddhist light bloomed from his body, shining like the sun in the sky. The golden Buddhist light shone on the winged demon soldiers. During the fog, these defenseless demon soldiers melted like snow under the sun. The demon chi on their bodies evaporated rapidly. In just a short moment, the originally menacing demon soldiers had disappeared into the void, leaving not a single trace behind. After releasing his terrifying Buddhist light, Jinluan Arhat relaxed. Jinluan Arhat's nervous expression relaxed. He stopped in the air and panted. Even though he was a bodhisattva, he was still in the immortal realm. He had killed so many immortal realm winged demon soldiers in an instant. Although the winged demon soldiers had been caught off guard, he was still exhausted. He had to rest for a while before he could fight again. Jinluan Arhat pitied the winged demon soldiers when he saw them disappear. But he had no regrets. He would not be overflowing with compassion. These people were from the Devil clan. They were the arch-enemies of Buddhism. And just now, if Jun Haoyan hadn't killed their demon general, the demon woman would have died. He would most likely be caught in a bitter battle, and might even be killed by these demon soldiers in the end. Even Jinluan Arhat wouldn't be merciful to his enemies. This poor monk thanks the Holy Lord. As Jinluan Arhat panted, he looked at Jun Haoyan gratefully and expressed his gratitude. If not for Jun Haoyan, his life would have been in danger. When Jinluan Arhat looked at Jun Haoyan, his eyes were filled with amazement and admiration. In this trip to the abyss, he had seen with his own eyes how terrifying the newly ascended Holy Lord of Langya was. Although he had heard of Jun Haoyan's deeds before, such as the King of All Heaven's Sacred Ground, Qingyun's Sacred Ground, and Yaoguang's Sacred Ground, but he hadn't seen it with his own eyes. But at this moment, he had truly witnessed the terror of Jun Haoyan. The 3 demon generals were extremely powerful. All of them were at the immortal creator realm. Even the demon woman was at the peak of the 10th level of the immortal creator realm. She was extremely powerful. She was many levels higher than Jun Haotian. However, the demon woman had been killed by Jun Haotian with one arrow. Jinluan Arhut was really shocked. Jinluan Arhut had thought of Jun Haotian as a rare genius before, but now, he really admired Jun Haotian. In response to Rilai's gratitude, TL nodded. That year, they looked at the strange temple on the top of the mountain. After dealing with the 3 demon generals and the demon army, they had reached the top of the mountain. They were only 1 li away from the strange temple. Since they had encountered the demon generals and the demon soldiers, it meant that this was a place where the demon race was sealed. If there was no accident, the one who took the temple at the center would be the most powerful demon race. It was most likely the demon craftsmanship that the 3 demon generals had mentioned. Even the 3 demon generals had the strength of the immortal creator realm. The so-called demon king, Sergio, should be even more powerful. I wonder if the demon Jade still has the strength of a demon king, after being sealed for so many years. No, the next highlight should be in this temple. Jiang Chen said calmly after looking at it for a while. There was no trace of fear on his face. Third, there was a demon god sealed in his body. Qilong. No matter how powerful the demon race was, he would not even think about them. First published on Joey Fan's website Rilai side. He was a little worried. For a devil king to be able to control the eternal jade eternal life creation realm Emolin, his strength was at least at the eternal jade eternal life realm. Moreover, because he had appeared at the original location of Nalanda Temple, he didn't know if this devil king was related to the Western Desert Buddhist sect. Jiang Chen and Tong Rilai walked towards the top of the mountain. They stopped in front of the temple at the top of the mountain. The 2 of them observed the whole temple. It was a strange temple. A hint of caution flashed in their eyes. Black demonic qi lingered within the large and ancient temple, emitting a strange and sinister aura. It was as though it was a temple from hell, causing one's hair to stand on end. Anyone could guess that the thing sealed within 003 was definitely not a good person. The temple's gate. It was vermilion red and a little peeling, revealing a trace of ancient qi. Apparently, it had existed for a long time. Perhaps because this temple was too old, it did not have the strength to completely seal the demon king inside. Therefore, it appeared at the original location of Nalanda Temple. Half of the vermilion gate was unlocked, locked by a rusty bronze chain. However, the bronze chain was like a book that was about to decay and break. Green rust covered every part of the chain. Looking into the temple through the crack of the supreme gate, one seemed to be able to see a bloody glow hidden in the darkness. Faintly, there seemed to be a trace of bloody talent encircling the tip of the temple. Jiang Shang sniffed slightly and lowered his eyelids. Perhaps it's the 6 Western Desert Buddhist sect monks who disappeared before. They've already fallen. Emperor Tathagata was silent. Obviously, he understood Jiang Chen's meaning. He also smelled the trace of bloody qi at the tip of his nose. He knew that the 6 monks had most likely died. However, getting lost in this abyss of demon qi was a matter of 9 deaths. He was prepared for it, so he wasn't too surprised. While he was thinking, there seemed to be a breeze blowing past. The bronze chain suddenly broke with a paw sound. The vermilion gate beat. Chapter 259. As the door of the ancient and dilapidated temple opened, a thick blood-red light shone from within the temple. There were countless corpses lying on the ground. The blood-red light that was casually piled up in the hall came from these corpses. Master Xuanzang. When Jinluan Arhut came in, he saw Xianpin Divine Monk's body among the corpses. He was shocked. Jun Haotian was shocked when he heard Jinluan Arhut's words. He looked in the direction Jinluan Arhut was looking at, and saw Master Xuanzang. However, Xuanzang Divine Monk was only a corpse. Moreover, all the blood in his body seemed to have been sucked dry. All that was left was a withered corpse that had become a mummy. Divine Monk Xuanzang was the first disciple of the Minor Thunderclap Temple. His position was extremely important, comparable to the position of the Holy Sun in the Holy Lands. Now that even he had died, the rest of the people in the Minor Thunderclap Temple would not be able to survive. Jun Haoyan looked at the corpses and saw the corpses of the monks from the Minor Lane Temple. Jun Haoyan even found the corpse of divine monk Fa Hai among the worms of corpses. He had also died a miserable death and had become a dried corpse. Sigh. It seems like all the Buddhist disciples in the Minor Lane Temple are here. Jun Haoyan sighed when he saw the bloody scene. Although he did not know how many people there were in the Minor Lane Temple, he knew that all the people he met in the Minor Lane Temple were here. Even the other 6 monks who had been dragged into the abyss with Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Arhat were here. Their corpses looked like they had just withered, and their blood had been sucked out not long ago. Amitabha. Jinluan Arhat looked at the corpses and his face fell. He lowered his eyebrows and murmured the name of Buddha. He was the Arhat of the Diamond Temple, and he knew how many people there were in the Minor Lane Temple. Therefore, he knew that in the small Thunder Temple, other than a few people who were on a mission and were currently residing in the Vajra Temple, the rest were all here. The pitiful Small Lane Temple was one of the more prosperous Buddhist temples in the Western Desert. Now it was uprooted and no longer existed. And the culprit behind all of this was the Buddhist sect in this temple. Jun Haoyan glanced at Jinluan Bodhisattva and entered the temple. Jinluan Bodhisattva followed suit. On the pillars of the temple, there were some evil figures engraved on them. It was obvious that they did not belong to the Little Thunderclap Temple, but were done by the demon clan. There were no other side roads, only a perfectly straight road leading to the inside. Jun Haoyan and Qin Wentian walked on the road and looked to the sides. On both sides of the road, there were statues in black armor. Their faces were hideous and grotesque. Jun Haoyan suddenly felt that he was walking on the road of the imperial court and was about to face the emperor. At the same time, there was a heavy pressure on Jun Haoyan's body. It wanted to crush him and make it difficult for him to move. However, Jun Haoyan now had 4 million giant elephant cells in his body. He had infinite divine power and could not be crushed easily. As Jun Haoyan's body trembled, the pressure on his body dissipated. It was no longer able to obstruct Jun Haoyan's path. However, Jinluan Bodhisattva was having a hard time resisting the pressure. Jun Haoyan waved his sleeve, and a huge amount of energy surged out, crushing the pressure on Jinluan Bodhisattva. Jinluan Bodhisattva relaxed and looked at Jun Haoyan gratefully. Under the ferocious stares of the statues, the two of them came to a huge hall. There were many statues of the demon clan around the hall. Upon closer inspection, they looked similar to the statues of Buddhas. However, the aura they gave off was cold and evil. In the middle of the hall, there was an altar. There was a huge blood pool in the middle of the altar. The blood pool gave off an endless bloody aura, and the smell of blood, filling the hall. Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Bodhisattva frowned. They did not like the smell. It seemed that the blood of the corpses that had been sucked dry had all gathered in this blood pool. Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes and looked towards the source of the blood pool. Under his might, there seemed to be something hidden within the blood pool. He immediately guessed that this was the so-called Devil King. Jun Haoyan thought for a while and suddenly, his aura started to circulate. Celestial demon technique. Thick fog started to spread behind him. In the thick fog, a huge blood sea appeared. Then 12 demon gods appeared. Endless divine aura appeared and strengthened Jun Haoyan's body. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's body seemed to be filled with endless divine power. When Jinluan Bodhisattva saw this, he calmed down and backed away. Jun Haoyan's eyes narrowed. They were as sharp as swords. Then, Jun Haoyan slowly raised his right hand and clenched it into a fist. Then he punched at the blood pool. Rumble. Suddenly, a loud rumble could be heard. An enormous illusory fist that was several hundred feet in size suddenly appeared. Then, it blasted towards the blood pool at lightning speed. When Jinluan Bodhisattva saw this, his eyes widened. He wanted to see how the blood pool would react. When Jun Haoyan saw this, he was also waiting with bated breath. The huge shadow of the fist was extremely fast. Soon, it was in front of the blood pool and punched at it. Regardless of what material the altar was made of or how hard it was, if the terrifying punch landed, it would probably be turned into a pile of rubble by the boundless force. However, just as the shadow of the fist was about to land on the blood pool, something strange happened. A faint blood-red protective barrier suddenly appeared above the altar, completely enveloping it. When Jun Haoyan's shadow of the fist hit the shield, it blocked all of them. Even after receiving such a huge attack, the protective barrier didn't even sway a bit. When Jun Haoyan saw this scene, he was not curious at all. Instead, a look of realization appeared on his face. This is not good. There must be a demon king in there. He is recovering his strength. This shield is to protect him and prevent him from being disturbed. When Jinluan Bodhisattva saw this, he also understood what was going on. He was shocked and exclaimed. Then a golden Buddhist light appeared on his body. The Buddhist light gathered to form a golden ruler. It glowed brightly and seemed to contain boundless divine power. Demon-slaying ruler. Jinluan Bodhisattva's eyes widened in anger as he waved his hand. The golden ruler was like a meteor chasing after the moon, as it rapidly flew towards the protective barrier above the blood pool. In the next instant, there was a loud explosion. However, to everyone's surprise, the shield absorbed all of the golden ruler's energy. It did not lose a single bit of energy. When the golden ruler disappeared, Jinluan Bodhisattva's heart sank. He did not want to give up. He tried a few more attacks. He used the golden lotus Buddha palm and the golden Buddha seal to attack the blood-red shield. However, no matter how many attacks he used, they were ineffective. The blood-red shield did not change at all. It was as if it had not been depleted at all. It's useless. The blood-red shield was formed by the blood of all the monks in the small lane temple. Attacking the shield is equivalent to fighting against all the monks in the small lane temple. You will not be able to break it with your strength alone. When Jun Haoyan saw this, he shook his head and reminded Jinluan Bodhisattva. Even the Holy Master can't do anything about it. When he heard Jun Haoyan's words, Jun Haoyan was unwilling to give up. Jun Haoyan shook his head. The Demon King had put in a lot of effort to set up the shield. It could be easily broken in a short time. When Jun Haoyan saw this, he was disappointed. If that's the case, won't we have to watch the Demon King recover from his injuries? When he comes out, will we be able to save him? Jinluan Bodhisattva's tone was filled with despair. Jun Haoyan did not want to see Jinluan Arhat come out like this. Jun Haoyan was amused by Jinluan Arhat's reaction. It doesn't matter. Let him come out. When the time comes, I will naturally have a way to deal with him. When Jinluan Bodhisattva heard Jun Haoyan's words, his eyes lit up. If someone else had said this, he would not have believed them. However, since it was Jun Haoyan, he believed them. Then, the two of them waited patiently and observed the changes in the blood pool. As time passed, the blood-red light in the blood pool became less and less. It was as if something had absorbed it. It was extremely strange. Soon, a human head gradually emerged from the bloody ground. The head had curly hair, no facial features, and the eyelids were tightly shut. At first glance, one would think that it was the head of a sleeping Buddha. However, the evil aura of the Demon King from the face showed otherwise. Demon King Bo-sun. Jinluan Bodhisattva's expression changed drastically, and he exclaimed. Jun Haoyan glanced at Jinluan Bodhisattva. It seemed like Jun Haoyan knew something. He asked curiously, "Who is Demon King Bo-sun?" After hearing Jun Haoyan's question, Jinluan Bodhisattva shook his head and explained, "I know from the records in the Vajra temple. Bo-sun used to be one of us. However, he fell into the demon Tao for some unknown reason. I do not know what happened after that." Oh, Jun Haoyan became interested after hearing this. Look, Bo-sun Bodhisattva did not show any signs of waking up. Jun Haoyan then immersed his mind into the Dan furnace in his body. "Chiyu, do you know? What is the origin of baboon demon Bo-sun?" Jiang Chen asked. Buddha Zhaobao Bo-sun 3 Chiyu, who was curled up in a deep sleep, opened his eyes in surprise when he heard Jiang Chen's voice. He only wanted to help Jiang Chen subdue the Demon King here. However, he did not expect that the Demon King here was the Buddha demon Bo-sun. "You sent me the image through the air. I wonder if it's a wave," Chi said. Although he was in his body, he could vaguely sense the situation outside, but it was not clear. Jiang Chen did not care about it. He sent the image of the blood pool to the fragments in the Dan furnace. Ha ha ha. So it's really this place. After seeing the scene that was transmitted, Yu suddenly laughed as if he had seen something extremely happy. Jiang Chen frowned slightly when he saw Yu's reaction. Yu seemed to have sensed Yu's mood, and hurriedly stopped his Taoist greeting and explained. This is indeed the Buddha demon Bo-sun. I never thought that this guy would be sealed in this place. Looks like it's Shakyamuni. If I find out that you have any evil intentions, don't blame me for burning you with the divine flame of the Dan furnace. Jiang Chen saw Yu's reaction. He knew that Yu was up to something, and warned him in an unfriendly manner. When Yu heard Jiang Chen's threat, he instantly evaporated. The heavens were big, and the strength was the greatest. It was not easy for him to cooperate with Jiang Chen. He finally obtained a moment of peace. He did not want to experience the feeling of being burned by the divine flame again. After discovering the abnormality, he sealed it. Jiang Chen saw that Yu seemed to know the Buddha demon Bo-sun very well and asked, "What is the origin of this Buddha demon Bo-sun? How is he related to you, the devil ancestor?" Yu's eyes suddenly turned as he thought about how to answer Jiang Chen's question. Don't try to deceive me. Although you're in the fragments, your actions are still under my light. The pain was secondary. The main thing was that Yu could not bear the feeling of being weakened at every moment. He could only open his mouth and explain. This Buddha demon Bo-sun was originally a Buddhist in the immortal world. It's just that his mind wasn't in the right place. I communicated with him for a bit, and he immediately joined the devil race. After I gave him a devil race cultivation technique, his strength increased by leaps and bounds, and he reached the immortal king realm. I originally planned to hide him in the immortal world. Shakyamuni had a sword as a Buddhist. I didn't expect him to be suppressed now. He was actually suppressed in the lower world. Looks like after I was sealed by Xian Yuan, he gave himself away and was sealed by Shakyamuni. However, since he was sealed here, it's fine. Alright, originally, I also saw that he didn't seem to be sincere towards the demons. Jiang Chen listened thoughtfully. So the Buddha demon Bo-sun had such a background. However, Jiang Chen was also interested in the Shakyamuni that Yu mentioned. Shakyamuni and Amitabha. What's the relationship between them? Jiang Chen had heard of the relationship between Amitabha and Shakyamuni before. It was his second time hearing about Shakyamuni. In my era, Shakyamuni was a Buddhist. Shakyamuni was a Buddhist in the immortal world. But now that I've been sealed for so many years, I reckon his strength has become stronger. He should have become a Buddhist abbot. Yu said disdainfully, as if he was talking about Shakyamuni. He did not think highly of Shakyamuni. Jiang Chen understood a lot of things in a flash. However, these things were still too early for him now. It would only be useful after he ascended to the immortal world. Right now, the matter of Buddha Kong Bo-sun was more important. Chapter 260. However, to his surprise, the protective barrier absorbed all of the power of the Golden Ruler, without losing a single bit of power. Then the Golden Ruler disappeared. Jinluan Arhat's heart sank when he saw this. He did not want to give up, so he changed his tactics. He used the Golden Lotus, the Buddha's palm, the Golden Buddha country seal, etc., to attack the Crimson Protective Shield. However, no matter how many tactics he used, none of them had any effect on the shield. There was no change to the Crimson Protective Shield. It was as if it had not been depleted at all. It's useless. The Crimson Protective Shield was formed by the blood of all the monks in the small Lane Temple. Attacking the shield is equivalent to fighting against all the monks in the small Lane Temple. You will not be able to break it with your own strength. Jun Haoyan shook his head, and reminded Jinluan Arhat when he saw this. Sacred Master, even you can't do anything about it? Jinluan Arhat asked unwillingly. Jun Haoyan shook his head decisively when he heard this. The protective shield had been set up by the Demon King. How could it be broken in such a short time? Jinluan Arhat was disappointed when he saw this. He said dejectedly, "If that's the case, we will have to watch the Demon King recover from his injuries. When he comes out, will we be able to save him?" There was a tinge of despair in his voice. Allowing such a terrifying demon to be born was something he did not want to see no matter what. Jun Haoyan was amused when he saw Jinluan Arhat's look of despair. He said, "Arhat, don't worry. Let him come out. I have a way to deal with him." Jinluan Arhat's eyes lit up when he heard this. He was pleasantly surprised. Jinluan Arhat would not have believed it if someone else had said this. However, when he heard Jun Haoyan say this, he believed it. The two of them waited patiently as they watched the changes in the blood pool. As time passed, the amount of blood in the blood pool decreased. It was as if something was absorbing it. It was extremely strange. Soon, a human head slowly floated up from the descending blood pool. The hair was curly, the facial features were regular, and the eyelids were tightly shut. No matter how one looked at it, one would think that it was the head of a sleeping Buddha. However, the devilish aura emanating from his face made it clear that this was not the case. Demon King Boxuan. When Jinluan Arhat saw the head, his face changed and he exclaimed. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan looked at Jinluan Arhat. It seemed that Jinluan Arhat knew something. Jun Haoyan asked, "Who is Demon King Bosun? Is this the head?" When Jinluan Arhat heard this, he shook his head and explained, "I found out from the hidden books in the Vajra temple. Bosun used to be a Buddhist, but for some reason, he fell into the demon Tao. I don't know what happened after that." Oh, hearing this, Jun Haoyan was a little interested. It seemed that Bosun did not show any signs of waking up in a short period of time. Therefore, Jun Haoyan stealthily immersed his consciousness into the furnace in his body. "Chiyu, do you know where Demon King Bosun came from?" Jun Haoyan asked demon ancestor Chiyu. "Demon King Bosun." Chiyu was originally curled up in a deep sleep. When he heard Jun Haoyan's voice, he opened his eyes in surprise. He had only intended to help Jun Haoyan subdue the Demon King. He had not expected the Demon King to be Bosun. "Send me the image. I want to see it," Chi said. At this moment, although he was in Jun Haoyan's body, he could vaguely sense the situation in the outside world, although it was not very clear. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan naturally didn't care. He casually transmitted the scene in the blood pool to the fragments in the furnace. "Ha ha ha, it really is this guy." After seeing the scene that was transmitted, Chiyu suddenly laughed out loud, as if he had seen something extremely happy. When Jun Haoyan saw Chiyu's reaction, he frowned slightly. Seeming to have sensed Jun Haoyan's unhappy mood, Chiyu hurriedly stopped laughing and explained, "This is indeed Demon King Bosun. I didn't expect that this fellow would also be sealed in this place. It seems that Shakyamuni discovered the abnormality and sealed him." When Jun Haoyan saw that Chiyu seemed to know Bosun very well, he asked, "What is the origin of Demon King Bosun? What is his relationship with you, demon ancestor?" The furnace was filled with fragments. Chiyu's eyes suddenly turned as he pondered how to answer. "Don't even think about deceiving me. Even though you're in the fragment, I can still see every move you make. If I find out that you have any evil intentions, don't blame me for burning you with the divine flames in the furnace." When Jun Haoyan saw Chiyu's expression, he knew that Chiyu was up to something, so he reminded him unkindly. When Chiyu heard Jun Haoyan's threat, he immediately became dispirited. In the vast world, strength was the greatest. It was not easy to cooperate with Jun Haoyan and obtain a moment of peace. He did not want to experience the feeling of being burned by the divine flames again. The pain was secondary. The main thing was that Chiyu could not stand the feeling of being weakened at every moment. At that moment, Chiyu could only open his mouth to explain. This Demon King Bosun was originally a Buddhist in the divine realm. It's just that his thoughts were somewhat impure. After I communicated with him briefly, he immediately switched sides and joined my demon clan. After I bestowed him with the demon clan's cultivation technique, his strength actually increased by leaps and bounds, reaching the immortal God King realm. I originally planned to hide him beside Shakyamuni as a spy in the Buddhist clan. I did not expect that Iran would also be suppressed in the lower realm. It seems that I was sealed by Xinyuan. After that, he gave himself away and was sealed by Shakyamuni. However, it's good that he is sealed here. Originally, I also saw that he did not seem to be sincere towards the demon clan. When Jun Haoyan heard this, he immediately became thoughtful. So, Demon King Bosun actually had such a background. However, Jun Haoyan was also somewhat interested in the Shakyamuni that Chiyu mentioned. Then, what is the relationship between Shakyamuni and Amitabha? Jun Haoyan had previously heard of the relationship between Amitabha and Shakyamuni. It was said that Amitabha was the founder of Buddhism. However, this was the second time that he had heard of Shakyamuni. In my era, Shakyamuni was a Buddha in the divine realms Buddhism. However, now that I have been sealed for so many years, I reckon that he has become stronger and should have become the ruler of Buddhism. Chiyu's tone was somewhat disdainful. It seemed that he did not think highly of Shakyamuni. In an instant, Jun Haoyan understood a lot of things. However, it was still too early for him to understand these things. He still had to wait until he ascended to the divine realm before it could be of any use. Right now, the matter of Demon King Bo Sun was more important. As Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan waited, the blood in the blood pool gradually decreased. In fact, half of Demon King Bo Sun's body was even revealed. Demon King Bo Sun had absorbed a lot of blood. It seemed that there was some redness in his body. There were signs that he was about to wake up. After a while, there was only a thin layer of blood left in the blood pool. Demon King Bo Sun's face was also becoming redder and redder. He was very close to a normal person. Moreover, due to the decrease in blood, the blood shield was also fading. The blood-red protective barrier became thinner and thinner, and it seemed to have reached the point where it could be broken. Jin Luan, who was standing at the side, was getting restless. However, just at that moment, Demon King Bo Sun suddenly opened his eyes. The sharp gaze in his eyes seemed to be able to pierce through space and time. The blood-red protective barrier could not hold on any longer, and directly broke apart. Demon King Bo Sun's gaze was sharp. He leaped into the air and flew above the blood pool. He opened his mouth and sucked in the blood. Instantly, the thin layer of blood was attracted. It turned into a stream of water and gathered in Demon King Bo Sun's mouth. It happened so fast that before Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan could react, all the blood in the blood pool had been sucked dry by Bo Sun. Bo Sun's face became the same as a normal person's. There was no difference at all. He had become a living person. Of course, the demonic aura on his face could not be changed. It was cold and chilling. Oh no. Seeing this, Jin Luan's face was filled with disbelief. Jun Haoyan, on the other hand, looked at Demon King Bo Sun. He was not worried at all. After Demon King Bo Sun absorbed the blood of everyone, his strength seemed to have broken through to the immortal realm. Moreover, because he had a lot of blood energy as his energy source, his strength was also growing rapidly. He seemed to be showing signs of breaking through to the Emperor realm. I didn't expect two humans to barge into my palace. After regaining his consciousness, Demon King Bo Sun looked at Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan. He licked his lips slightly, as if he was greedy. These two immortal realm humans in front of me seem a little unusual. As long as I devour them, I think my strength will be restored a lot. Bo Sun looked at Jun Haoyan and Jin Luan. The greed in his eyes was obvious. Jun Haoyan looked at Bo Sun and found it funny. This guy was in trouble, but he did not know it. The Minor Thunder Sound Temple had helped him. He did not mind killing the people of the Guang clan, who had overthrown the Minor Thunder Sound Temple. Bo Sun seemed to have noticed the killing intent in Jun Haoyan's eyes. He turned his head slowly and looked at Jun Haoyan coldly. He said with a smirk, "Human, you seem to want to kill me." His tone was full of mockery, as if he was mocking an ant who wanted to topple a mountain. He was a demon king. If Shakyamuni had not found him, he would have had the potential to challenge demon ancestor Chiyu. He did not need to take Jun Haoyan, a little genius from the lower world, seriously. That's right. It won't take long for you to lose your life. Seeing that Bo Sun had actually seen through his thoughts, Jun Haoyan revealed a look of admiration and chuckled. Seeing Jun Haoyan's reaction, Jinluan Arhat looked helpless. Demon King Bo Sun's expression changed from one of disdain to one of gloominess. Was he being mocked by this human brat from the lower realm? A sense of annoyance suddenly arose in his heart. Looking at the smiling human boy in front of him, he suddenly had the urge to immediately kill him. He believed that with his current undying realm strength, killing an immortal lifespan immortal realm human would be a piece of cake. He raised his hand and was about to attack. When Jun Haoyan saw this, his eyes congealed. The various skills and spells in his body were already prepared. However, just as Demon King Bo Sun was about to make his move, he suddenly changed his mind and extinguished the thought of immediately killing Jun Haoyan. He lowered his raised palm. towards a brat who dared to offend and provoke him, it would be too simple to directly kill him. With a cold gaze, Demon King Bo Sun released 10% of his oppressive might onto Jun Haotian. Even though it was only 10%, Bo Sun felt that it was enough. Did he have to go all out to deal with the High Immortal Realm kid? He definitely wanted to make Jun Haotian kneel down in front of him. From Bo Sun's actions, Jun Haotian knew that he wanted candy. Are you trying to use pressure to make me yield? You're underestimating me. Jiang Chun was very confident in his strength. He wanted to see if Bo Sun would use his full strength. He wanted to see how Bo Sun would act when he couldn't suppress him. As Bo Sun exerted his pressure, Jiang Chun's shoulder slightly sank. The pressure on his body was more than 100 times higher than the pressure he felt when he was walking on the road. However, Jiang Chun still felt it. He didn't feel any pressure at all. Just like this. The pressure was too much for him. What's wrong? When Buddha Demon Bo Sun saw Jiang Chun's relaxed expression, he frowned and was slightly surprised. After thinking about it for a while, he put 20% of the pressure on Di Rulai, wanting to test the strength of the first zone. However, Di Rulai's face turned pale. After a few seconds, he rolled his eyes and fell to the ground. Looks like you're quite capable. Bo Sun sneered. Then, he increased the pressure on Jiang Chun to 20%. Adding M to 20% of the pressure should have some effect, Buddha Demon Bo Sun thought in his heart. Here it is. However, what made him extremely surprised was that Gong Chen didn't seem to be affected even after the pressure was increased to 20%. Gong Chen even looked at him with interest. WCO's Buddha Demon Bo Sun's face darkened, and he immediately increased the pressure. 30%, 40%, 50%, 60% earth. Until the earth pressure fell on Jiang Chen's body. Jiang Chen felt a slight negative and heavy feeling. This meant that the pressure finally had some effect on Jiang Chen. 7. Chapter 261. Jun Haotian's cultivation technique was the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant. Currently, Jun Haotian had awakened a total of 4 million mammoth seeds in his body, and his divine power was boundless. How could a mere demon king Bo Sun's pressure suppress him? Moreover, the ancient mammoths had swept across the galaxy, carried the sun and suppressed the endless hell. How could a mere demon king Bo Sun suppress him? At this moment, facing demon king Bo Sun, Jun Haotian's face revealed a slight smile. Then, Jun Haotian's strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant began to circulate. Suddenly, the faintly discernible pressure that Demon King Bo Sun exerted on Jun Haotian disappeared. It was as if it had never appeared. Originally, when Demon King Bo Sun saw that the pressure had increased to 70%, Jun Haotian finally reacted, and a look of joy appeared on his face. However, before he could rejoice for long, he sensed that the pressure on Jun Haotian's body had suddenly disappeared. Suddenly his face froze. This scene caused him to be extremely surprised and bewildered. Then, Demon King Bo Sun directly activated all of his power and violently swept towards Jun Haotian, trying to forcibly suppress Jun Haotian. However, the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant in Jun Haotian's body continued to circulate, and all of the pressure was directly suppressed. At this moment, even Demon King Bo Sun suffered a backlash, and the rebound of his power caused his blood and chi to become somewhat chaotic. Seeing this scene, Demon King Bo Sun looked at Jun Haotian with an incomparably shocked expression. His eyes were filled with disbelief. As everyone knew, Jun Haotian was just a mere immortal longevity stage existence. A mere immortal longevity stage existence was nothing in his eyes. Even at this moment, Demon King Bo Sun's strength had not fully recovered. With his current strength, it was only a matter of time before he returned to his peak. Seeing this scene, Demon King Bo Sun directly laid out his cards. He slowly stretched out his hand, and an extremely powerful and endless force came out from Jun Haotian's body. Under the influence of this monstrous power, the entire ancient temple shook, as if it could not withstand such a great power. If one were to look down from the top of the mountain where the temple was located, one would see a violent storm rising from the temple and sweeping across the entire abyss. The thin devil chi in the entire abyss surged, its momentum shaking the heavens and the earth. Such a terrifying scene was something that even a peak undying world king would be shocked by. In the temple, Junhaotian, who was facing Demon King Bo Sun, was the first to bear the brunt of the pressure. It was as if a violent storm was coming from the front. Although he had 8,400,000 megamammoth cells, which gave him boundless god power, he still couldn't stand up straight. After circulating the strength of the hell-crushing god mammoth a few times, he finally stabilized himself. It seemed like Demon King Bo Sun was preparing to make his move. Seeing this, Junhaotian sneered inwardly. Then, he immersed his mind into the furnace in his body. Qiyu, it's your turn. He wanted to see what kind of expression Demon King Bo Sun would have when he saw Qiyu, the demon ancestor, coming. Qiyu replied excitedly when he heard Junhaotian's words. After being sealed in Junhaotian's body for so long, he finally saw the light of day. Although it was only for a short time, and he would be sealed again, he could not help but feel excited. Moreover, he felt that teaching Bo Sun a lesson was very interesting. Junhaotian communicated with the fragment in his body and drew it out. Ever since he used the fragment to seal Qiyu on Mount Tai, the fragment had been used by him. He didn't know what material it was made of, but it was able to seal Qiyu without worrying that Qiyu would escape from it. It could be seen that it was also a treasure. An inconspicuous fragment, with runes engraved on its surface, appeared in front of Junhaotian and floated in midair. Demon King Bo Sun released all of his power and was about to attack Junhaotian. He wanted to kill this human who dared to mock him. Suddenly, he saw the fragment floating in front of Junhaotian. It's already so late. What's the use of this small fragment? Demon King Bo Sun was puzzled. However, judging from the appearance of the fragment, it could actually float peacefully in the void under his full power. Perhaps it was a rare treasure. His face was slightly happy. Since it was a treasure, it naturally belonged to him. He reached out his hand and grabbed the fragment in front of Junhaotian. After observing it for a while, Demon King Bo Sun was even more surprised. This fragment was neither gold nor wood. It had a texture similar to a stone. A trace of interest arose in his heart, and he wanted to continue observing it. However, at this moment, a trace of black fog floated out from the fragment. It slowly condensed on the fragment, as if it was condensing into something. Seeing this scene, Demon King Bo Sun was stunned. He actually felt a trace of a very familiar power towards this black fog. It was as if he had seen it somewhere before. However, what made him very puzzled was that he couldn't recall it at the moment. In front of the altar, Junhaotian's body was motionless. Looking at Bo Sun's stunned expression while holding the fragment, he felt a little amused. Demon King Bo Sun would never have thought that this black fog was demon ancestor Qiyu. And the thing that was slowly condensing was Qiyu's image. Of course, this image was naturally not Qiyu's actual body. It was only a portion of Qiyu's power that was released. If Junhaotian wanted to, he could reseal this portion of power back into the fragment at any time. In other words, the power that was released could only act according to Junhaotian's wishes. If the slightest bit of malicious intent appeared, it would immediately be resealed by Junhaotian. Qiyu was really too important. Junhaotian would definitely not release Qiyu's origin power so easily. At this moment, Junhaotian calmly crossed his arms and looked at Demon King Bo Sun. Demon King Bo Sun seemed to be certain that Junhaotian had little chance of escaping from his hands. After obtaining the fragment, he actually ignored Junhaotian and locked a strand of his consciousness on Junhaotian to prevent Junhaotian from escaping. After that, he began to study the fragment in his hand. However, the more he studied it, the more he was amazed. Then, under his curious gaze, the fog that spread out from the fragment actually formed a humanoid figure as it curled around it. Moreover, as time passed, the human figure became clearer and clearer. Along with the body, a face condensed. The aura of the demon ancestor, whose confidence, soft laughter and disdain for everything in the world, also surfaced. That aura, as well as that familiar gaze, locked onto Demon King Bo Sun's body. It was as if a basin of water was suddenly splashed on Demon King Bo Sun's head. The interest in his heart was instantly extinguished. At the same time, A trace of panic appeared in his heart. The Demon King held the fragment in his hand. Around the fragment, the fog spread out and condensed into Chiyu's body. Chiyu was the demon ancestor. When he was in the divine realm, he was Demon King Bosun's superior. Now that Chiyu suddenly appeared in Bosun's hands, how could Demon King Bosun not panic? "Bosun, do you still recognize me?" Chiyu looked at Bosun's panicked appearance and sneered. You are the demon ancestor." Looking at Chiyu, Demon King Bosun's face was filled with shock and unnaturalness as he spoke in disbelief. "Looks like you still know who I am." Hearing Demon King Bosun's words, Chiyu seemed to be satisfied as he nodded his head. Then, he wanted to continue speaking. But Bosun was one step ahead of him and interrupted him. "Demon ancestor, why are you in this strange fragment? Could it be that your demon form is also sealed?" Bosun seemed to be puzzled as he asked. Hearing this, Chiyu glanced at Bosun and said indifferently, "That's right. I am still sealed in this fragment and can't come out. During this period of time, my origin is a little weak. Just nice I can borrow your origin. Bosun, it's time for you to contribute." Hearing this, Bosun's expression became somewhat conflicted. The light in his eyes began to flicker. Naturally, he knew what Chiyu's words meant. Borrowing his origin naturally meant that he had to contribute his origin for Chiyu to restore himself. However, after the origin was absorbed, Bosun would also directly lose most of his power. The origin was the most important thing to the immortals. Without the origin, the immortals could not continue to exist. "Why, Bosun, don't tell me you don't want to contribute your origin." Chiyu seemed to not be surprised by Bosun's reaction. He looked at Bosun with a cold smile. Not far away, Jun Haotian was also very interested in this scene. One was the sealed demon ancestor, and the other was the demon king who had just awakened. Whether the two would return to their previous superior-subordinate relationship, and whether Bosun would still listen to Chiyu's words, was a question. At this moment, Bosun's expression was conflicted, and a trace of unwillingness appeared in his eyes. He had just awakened, and had a bright future ahead of him. Was he going to contribute his origin, as if he was committing suicide? He was unwilling and very unwilling. Looking at the fragment in his hand, and Chiyu who was on it, a trace of strange light suddenly appeared in his eyes. Originally, he had joined the demon clan not for other things, but to become stronger and finally attain Dao fruit. At this moment, he would absolutely not hand over his family's life so easily. Moreover, Chiyu was now sealed, and did not seem to have the ability to do anything to him. The more he thought about it, the more he did not want to continue listening to Chiyu's orders. "Looks like you have already made your choice." Chiyu looked at Bosun's moonlight, and was not surprised at all. He immediately sneered. When he had taken Bosun into the demon clan, he had already seen through Bosun's character. He had only taken him in casually, and had not paid much attention to him. This was because he knew that since Bosun could join the demon clan for benefits, there would be a day when he would betray the demon clan for benefits. And that day had finally arrived. It seemed that Bosun had seen that he was sealed, and thought that he could not do anything to him. If that was really the case, then Bosun would have some strange phenomena. This was because although the fragment had sealed Chiyu, the one who had excavated it was Jun Haotian. As long as Jun Haotian agreed to release his power, he would definitely be able to suppress Bosun. "Demon ancestor, since you want me dead, then don't blame me." Bosun pinched the fragment, and a trace of viciousness suddenly appeared in his eyes. He knew that he had to strike first to gain the upper hand. Suppressing Chiyu first would prevent any undue delay. In the next moment, the power in Bosun's body surged crazily, and then swarmed out from his hands. This power was like a serene tremor, and it had an aura very similar to the demonic aura. This was the power that Bosun had refined using the non-biochemical demonic technique. Even in the divine world, this kind of power was considered top-notch. This was the technique that Chiyu had imparted to him. He would let the power from the technique that Chiyu had imparted to him destroy Chiyu. As Bosun thought this, the power in his body surged out towards the fragment in his hands, and it was about to drill into the fragment. This power was filled with a chaotic aura. If it were to enter the mind of an ordinary person, It would only take an instant to turn him into an idiot. This was the method that Bo Sun had thought of to directly destroy Chi-Yu's divine soul. Chi-Yu felt the power swarming towards his body, and he sneered. This Bo Sun had finally made a move on him. He knew Bo Sun very well, and he was least afraid that Bo Sun would make a move on him. As for that chaotic power, not only did Chi-Yu not block or evade it, he allowed it to enter the fragment and bombard his origin. After bombarding his origin, this chaotic power that was about to destroy Chi-Yu's origin suddenly changed, and it turned into an aura that was exactly the same as his origin. Then it was devoured by his origin. Chi-Yu felt that his origin had become much stronger, and his expression was joyful, as if he was enjoying it very much. Just when Chi-Yu had absorbed the power that he had injected into the fragment, Bo Sun's expression suddenly changed to one of bewilderment. He saw that when he had injected power into the fragment, Chi-Yu did not feel any pain. Instead, he was enjoying it very much. His heart was suddenly filled with bewilderment, and he stopped his actions. Why? Why aren't you continuing? Chi-Yu looked at Bo Sun, and a trace of ridicule appeared on his face. Since I, the demon ancestor, want you to offer your origin, naturally, no matter what, you can't escape. You better not waste your time. Chi-Yu's face was somewhat proud. The reason why he could absorb Bo Sun's power was actually very simple. It was not because his realm was higher, but because the cultivation technique that he had bestowed upon Bo Sun, the innate demon transformation technique, was originally a part of his own cultivation technique. Wait for the king to say. All these years, Bo Sun had been the storage of his power, helping him to cultivate. When he had taken Bo Sun in to join the demon clan, he had already planted a good pen. No matter what, Bo Sun had escaped from his control. He wanted to see how Bo Sun would react. You did something to my cultivation technique? Bo Sun swept his gaze over Chi-Yu, frowning as he spoke. Being able to cultivate to the Divine King realm, he was naturally not stupid. With just a short observation, he directly saw through the reason. After a short observation, he gritted his teeth and increased the power output. This time, he didn't want to destroy Chi-Yu's divine soul. Instead, he wanted to destroy the fragment together with Chi-Yu. Chapter 262. Frenzied dermic powers swarmed the surface of the fragment. A huge pressure descended on the fragment, intending to crush it into powder. If the fragment was really crushed into powder, Chi-Yu would not be able to escape. Instead, he would be annihilated in the space within the fragment due to the huge pressure. However, in the face of Bo Sun's actions, Jun Haoyan and Chi-Yu were not worried at all. If the Demon King Bo Sun's dermic powers were enough to shake the fragment that Xian Yuan had sealed Chi-Yu, it would not have been sealed. If that was the case, the fragment wouldn't have sealed Chi-Yu for so many years without him being able to escape. Therefore, the two of them did not make any other moves. They just watched Bo Sun calmly, as he made his move on the fragment. Then, under their mocking gazes, Bo Sun used up half of his dermic powers, but was unable to shake the fragment at all. Jun Haoyan shook his head. He could not help but sympathize with the Demon King Bo Sun. He was actually being toyed with by Chi-Yu. Alright Chi-Yu, stop playing around. Absorb Bo Sun directly. After watching for a while, Jun Haoyan suddenly lost all interest and said impatiently. They had spent a lot of time in this abyss. Subduing the Demon King Bo Sun was not difficult at all. Chi-Yu was the demon ancestor, and had absolute pressure on Bo Sun. Even Jun Haoyan's strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant was a nemesis to Bo Sun. It was also the nemesis of demons like Bo Sun. No matter how Bo Sun struggled, he could not escape the fate of death. Jun Haoyan directly released some of the dermic powers that sealed Chi-Yu. Alright, Chi-Yu was a little helpless when he heard that. He had finally come out and wanted to play for a while more. However, Jun Haoyan was a little impatient. He directly operated the demonic arts in his body. His body outside the fragment became a little more obvious. This was the power released by Jun Haoyan. However, Chi-Yu's origin was still in the fragment and could not escape. He communicated with the non-biochemical demonic arts in Bo Sun's body and directly sealed Bo Sun's body. Bo Sun, who was trying to crush the fragment, suddenly paled. He actually felt that he had lost all connection with the magic power in his body. Before he could do anything, many tentacle-like hands darted out from Chi-Yu's silhouette, waving in the air. These demonic hands directly wrapped around Boshun's body and pulled him into the fragment. Bo Sun's face suddenly changed. If he allowed these devil hands to pull him into the fragment and face Chi-Yu, then even if he had 10 lives, it would not be enough. He had to get rid of these evil hands. However, no matter what method Bo Sun used, it was useless to get rid of these demonic hands. Due to the suppression of Chi-Yu's demonic technique, he couldn't use any of his abyssal demonic techniques. Instead, he could still use some of the Buddhist techniques that he cultivated in the divine world. Bo Sun quickly operated the Buddhist techniques in his body. However, all these years, he had been cultivating the demonic technique and neglected the Buddhist techniques. Even though he tried his best to operate them, his body only emitted a trace of golden Buddha light. This Buddha light was too weak. When it exploded, it didn't even have the strength of the immortal realm. It had no effect on Chi-Yu's demonic hands. Instead, it seemed to have angered these demonic hands, causing them to dance crazily and pull him into the fragment at a faster speed. On the contrary, it became faster. After struggling for a long time, there was no result at all. Bo Sun couldn't help but reveal a trace of despair. Perhaps my decision to betray Buddhism and join the demon clan was wrong from the beginning. He recalled the past events, and his heart was filled with regret. However, no matter how much he regretted, he couldn't change the fact that he was walking towards death step by step. Under Jun Haotian's gaze, Bo Sun approached the fragment and turned into a dark mist like Chi-Yu, entering the fragment. At the same time, Jun Haotian directly resealed Chi-Yu's power, confining it in the space of the fragment. It couldn't leak out anymore. The image of Chi-Yu on the fragment also disappeared, as if it had never existed in the first place. Jun Haotian waved his hand at the fragment and retrieved it. Then, he directly put it into the furnace in his dantian, wrapping it with layers of furnace divine flame to prevent it from escaping. Inside the fragment, after seeing Bo Sun's body enter the fragment, Chi-Yu's body instantly turned into a hungry wolf and a fierce tiger. He turned into a giant beast, biting and tearing at Bo Sun's body. Facing Chi-Yu's devouring, Bo Sun, who should have resisted, didn't move at all. He just stared blankly at the space inside the fragment, his eyes blank. He had already given up the hope of survival and was prepared to die. Under such circumstances, Chi-Yu didn't hesitate to devour everything about Bo Sun. Bo Sun's bones were crushed, and his skin was torn apart. Everything about him was devoured by Chi-Yu. In the end, even a strand of hair couldn't escape the fate of being devoured, turning into Chi-Yu's most original power. After devouring Bo Sun, Chi-Yu seemed to have eaten his fill, burping contentedly. Then he sat cross-legged in the fragment's space, intending to refine Bo Sun's original power. Chi-Yu, don't forget about my 90% original power. At this time, Jun Haotian's faint voice rumbled in the fragment space, entering Chi-Yu's ears. Previously, Jun Haotian and Chi-Yu had an agreement. Chi-Yu helped him subdue the sealed demon king, and the original power he obtained would be divided into 90%. Jun Haotian would get 90%, while Chi-Yu would only get 10%. To Chi-Yu, of course, it was very unfair. However, Chi-Tu's life was in Jun Haotian's hands, so Chi-Yu had no other choice. If he didn't agree with Jun Haotian, he wouldn't even get 10% of the original power, and he would have to suffer the pain of being burned by the divine flame every day and night. Of course, I won't forget about the Saint Lord's part. Chi-Yu didn't open his eyes as he replied to Jun Haotian. Jun Haotian frowned slightly when he heard that. Chi-Yu's tone didn't give him the feeling that he was respectful like before. Could it be that after absorbing Bo Sun's original power, his ambition had grown? Suddenly, Jiangli felt a sense of danger. In the future, he and Chi-Yu would have many opportunities to cooperate. In many areas, he would need Chi-Yu's help. Although only 10% of the benefits were given to Chi-Yu in the end, Chi-Yu was indeed constantly recovering. Once he recovered to a certain extent, it was inevitable that Chi-Yu would have other thoughts. Bo Sun fell into deep thought as his eyes flickered. If he didn't want Chi-Yu to break free, apart from not letting Chi-Yu absorb the original power so easily, The easiest way was to strengthen himself. The stronger he was, the stronger the power of the fragment that sealed Qiyu would be. This was the only way to break free from Qiyu. As time passed, Jun Haoyan's desire to improve his strength increased by another level. After pondering for a moment, Jun Haoyan turned to look at the ground beside him. There Jinluan Arhat's face was pale. He had even fallen unconscious. When Demon King Bo Sun had exerted pressure on Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Arhat had fainted and hadn't woken up until now. However, it seemed that Jinluan Arhat's face had turned ruddy, and he looked like he would wake up soon. Jiang Ran went forward to push Di Rulai, waking him up. Saint Lord! Di Rulai woke up in a daze. He glanced at Jiang Chen blankly, then looked around. He remembered that he was facing the Buddha demon, and fainted, because he couldn't withstand the pressure. In an instant, he was woken up by Jiang Ran. He was so shocked that he jumped up. He looked around and said nervously, Saint Lord, where is Buddha demon Bo Sun? He was still confused about the current situation. Jiang Xiao, who had disappeared from 6YW, answered casually. Di Rulai was shocked when he heard this. He understood the meaning behind Jiang Chen's words. Buddha Kong Bo Sun was so strong. He wouldn't disappear for no reason. Besides him and Jiang Chen, there was no one else here. He thought that Buddha demon Bo Sun must have been killed by Jiang Chen when he was in a deep sleep. He had died. Although Buddha demon Bo Sun had the strength of an immortal realm expert when he woke up, Di Rulai knew that Jiang Chen's strength wasn't ordinary. Jiang Chen's strength couldn't be calculated with common sense. Therefore, he didn't doubt that Jiang Chen had killed Buddha demon Bo Sun. Wang Shi and Di Rulai looked at Jiang Chen with even more admiration. One should know that Buddha demon Bo Sun was an immortal realm expert. Because he was an ancient expert who had been sealed for many years, he might be even stronger than an ordinary immortal realm expert. But even so, he was still killed by Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen's strength was like a veil in Di Rulai's eyes. He couldn't see through Jiang Chen's strength. Jiang Chen glanced at Di Rulai and knew what Di Rulai was thinking. Di Rulai had misunderstood Jiang Chen. If Jiang Chen were to deal with the Buddha demon Bo Sun himself, although his strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant was the nemesis of the Buddha demon Bo Sun, it would still be very troublesome to subdue him. Even if he could successfully subdue him, it would take a long time. It might take a lot of time. However, even so, Jiang Chen didn't have the slightest intention to explain. Secondly, there was nothing left to explore here. Buddha demon Bo Sun had already fallen. This place had become an empty abyss. Jiang Chen and Di Rulai were about to leave immediately. Just as they were about to leave the temple, the two of them passed through the hall filled with corpses once more. Di Rulai couldn't bear to see the corpses of Nalanda's monks again. He sighed and said Buddha's name. Holy Lord, I'll bring these corpses back to Buddhism for burial. Di Rulai looked at Jiang Chen and said, That's how it is. Jiang Chen nodded. Wan Jin had no objections. Among them were divine monk Jiewu and the others. He owed them a debt of gratitude. Bringing the electric wonder worm back to Angie D might be the best way to cure it. Di Rulai excused himself. Di Rulai waved his hand. He put the sun physiques into his spatial item and brought them back to the Great Lane Temple. If nothing else, the Great Lane Temple would regard these monks as heroes who had fought against the demonic Tao. They would be buried with the highest of honors. After Di Rulai put away the corpses, Jiang Chen glanced at the bloodstains on the ground. After thinking for a moment, he directly used his dermic powers to condense a dermic flame and waved it towards the Great Hall. When the dermic flame was released, the dermic flame expanded with the wind, instantly becoming incomparably large and surging. They could burn in the hall. Under the high temperature of the flames, the bloodstains that had been left behind were all burned away, revealing the shiny floor and walls. Jiang Chen casually glanced at them. He was about to withdraw the flames. Official 0. Suddenly, Jiang Chen seemed to see something. He was bewildered. What's wrong, Holy Lord 2? Di Rulai was puzzled. There's something strange about the ground and walls. Accessory Jiang Chen answered offhandedly. The flames he'd released weren't ordinary flames, but extremely hot ones. Even a hard piece of meteoric iron would be melted into a puddle of molten water. However, The ground and walls of the temple were becoming smoother and smoother under the heat of Jiang Chen's flames. There were no signs that they were about to be burned. This was extremely strange. Is it the name? Rilai looked at the flames in the great hall in shock. Indeed, there were no traces of the flames being burned. Jiang Chen looked at the great door, and the chains hanging above it. After a moment of thought, he released a ball of flames. He released it. It attached itself to the great door and the chains. Under the heat of the flames, the great door and the chains hanging above it didn't burn. Instead, they shone even brighter. Even the rust on the chains was falling off bit by bit. The 3 dilapidated temples were also burned by the flames of the Dharma flames. It slowly recovered. In the blink of an eye, it looked brand new. Could it be that this Qi temple and the palace in Mount Tai are treasures? Jiang Chen's eyes lit up when he saw this. The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. He released the flames in a frenzy. The flames soared. They engulfed the entire temple. Under Rilai's astonishment, the tattered temple became brighter and brighter. The flame grew brighter and brighter. In the end, the luminous king rice was clearly an extremely precious magic treasure. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. He saw a ray of brilliance covering the entire temple. This temple might not be as good as the palace on Mount Tai, but it shouldn't be much weaker. After all, it was an existence that sealed an immortal king. Jiang Chen was quite satisfied with this. Rilai, who was in the second chapter, was already dumbfounded. He had never thought that this dilapidated temple would actually be a magic treasure. It wasn't that he hadn't seen a treasure like this before. It was just that it looked so tattered. It really made one unable to associate it with a treasure. Seeing Jiang Chen obtain such a precious treasure, Rilai's eyes were filled with envy. Congratulations, Saint Lord. You've obtained a precious treasure, Rilai said with envy. Chapter 263. Jiang Chen fell into deep thought. For bowls, Qinggu. In order to prevent Qiyu from escaping, apart from not allowing Qiyu to absorb the origin, the easiest way was to strengthen his own strength. The stronger he was, the stronger the fragment that sealed Qi would be. That was the only way. That was the only way to free Qiyu. For a moment, Jiang Chen's desire to increase his strength rose to another level. After thinking for a moment, he turned to look at the ground. There Rilai's face was pale. He was unconscious. When Buddha Demon Bo Sun exerted pressure on Jiang Chen and Rilai fainted. Fangji hasn't woken up yet. However, it seemed that Rilai's complexion had become much rosier. It didn't seem like he would wake up soon. He looked like he was about to wake up. Jiang Hua came forward and pushed Rilai, waking him up. Holy Lord! Rilai woke up in a daze. He glanced at Jiang Chen in a daze, and then looked around. He remembered that he was facing Buddha Demon Bo Sun. He couldn't withstand the pressure and fainted. In an instant, he was awakened by Jiang Hua. He jumped up in fright. He looked around and asked nervously, Holy Lord, where is Buddha Demon Bo Sun? He still didn't understand the current situation. Jiang Chen answered casually. When Rilai heard this, his expression changed drastically. He understood the meaning behind Jiang Chen's words. Buddha Demon Bo Sun was so strong. He wouldn't have disappeared for no reason. Besides him and Jiang Chen, there's no one else here. In his opinion, Jiang Chen must have killed Buddha Demon Bo Sun while he was asleep. He had died. Although Buddha Demon Bo Sun had the strength of an immortal realm expert when he woke up, Rilai knew that Jiang Chen's strength wasn't ordinary. Jiang Chen's strength couldn't be calculated with common sense. Therefore, he didn't doubt that Jiang Chen had killed Buddha Demon Bo Sun. Even more admiration surfaced in Rilai's eyes when he looked at Jiang Chen. Strength. Buddha Demon Bo Sun was an immortal realm expert. Moreover, because he was an ancient expert who had been sealed for many years, his actual strength might be even stronger than an immortal realm expert. But even so, it was still killed by Jiang Yi's use of the Dharma flames and dust. In Rilai's eyes, Jiang Chen's strength was shrouded in a veil that he couldn't see through no matter how hard he tried. Jiang Chen glanced sideways at Rilai. He knew what the latter was thinking. Rilai had misunderstood Jiang Chen. Although Jiang Chen's strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant was the nemesis of Buddha Demon Bo Sun, it would still be very troublesome to subdue him. Even if he succeeded in subduing him in the end, it would still take a long time to do so. It might take a lot of time. Even so, Jiangchen had no intention of explaining himself. Secondly, there was nothing left to explore here. Buddha demon wave had already fallen. This place had become an empty abyss. Jiangchen and Dirulai decided to leave immediately. Just as they were about to leave the temple, the two of them once again passed through the hall filled with corpses. Amitabha. When Dirulai saw the corpses of the people of Lantua Monastery again, he still couldn't bear to see them like this. He said, "Holy Lord, I'll take these corpses back to Buddhism for burial." Dirulai looked at Jiangchen and said, "That's how it should be." Jiangchen nodded. Wanjin didn't have any objections. Of these people, Divine Monk Awareness and the others. As for his book, he owed him a debt of gratitude. Dirulai was the best way to bring them back to the Great Thunderclap Temple for burial. Dirulai excused himself and waved his hand, storing the corpses into his storage item, and bringing them back to the Great Thunderclap Temple for the afterlife. If nothing unexpected happened, these monks would be seen by the Great Lightning Tune Temple as heroes who fought against the demon path. They would be given the highest ancient character. After Dirulai put away the corpses, Jiangchen glanced at the bloodstains on the ground. After some thought, he condensed a flame with his energy and waved it towards the hall. When the flames were unleashed, they swelled with the wind, instantly becoming incomparably large and torrential. It could burn within the great hall. Under the high temperature of the flames, the blood stains that were left behind were all burned away, revealing the ground and walls that were glowing with brilliance. Jiangchen waved his hand. He was about to withdraw the flame. Suddenly, Jiangchen seemed to have seen something inconceivable, and he was bewildered. "What is it, Holy Lord?" Dirulai was puzzled. He was puzzled. The ground and walls seemed to be strange. Jinx Red Dust answered casually. The flame he released was no ordinary flame. It was extremely hot. Even a hard piece of meteoric iron would be melted into a puddle of water. However, the ground and walls of the temple were becoming smoother and smoother under Jiangchen's flame. There were no signs of them being burned away. This was extremely strange. "Is it necessary?" Dirulai looked at the flames in the hall in shock. Indeed, there were no traces of it being burned away. Jiangchen glanced at the great door and the chains above it. After a moment of thought, he released a ball of flame. He released it. He attached it to the great door and the chains. Then, under the burning of the flame, the great door and the chains hanging above it were burned away. Surprisingly, it wasn't burned down either. Instead, it was glowing even more brightly. Even the rust on the chains was falling off. XSW. The great door of the temple seemed to be broken down. Under the burning of the Dharma flames, his eyes slowly recovered. In an instant, Chinya's eyes had regained their original color. Can it be that this temple of Qi is the same as the palace in Mount Tai? Jiangchen's eyes lit up when he saw this. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. Then he released the flame crazily. The flame soared. It engulfed the whole temple and burned fiercely. Then, under Dirulai's astonishment, the shabby temple became brighter and brighter. Under the burning of the flames, the will became brighter and brighter. In the end, it became a dazzling imperial light. Clearly, it was an extremely precious magical treasure. Jiangchen's eyes lit up. Then, 2 rays of light enveloped the whole temple and kept it. This temple might not be as good as the palace in Mount Tai, but it shouldn't be much weaker. Baizhang was also an existence that sealed an immortal king. Jiangchen was rather satisfied with this result. Dirulai had seen it for a long time. He was stunned. He didn't expect this shabby temple to be such a treasure. Unexpectedly, this shabby temple was also a treasure. It wasn't that he hadn't seen such a treasure before, but that shabby temple really made him unable to associate it with a treasure. Seeing that Jiangchen had obtained such a precious treasure, Dirulai's eyes were filled with envy. "Congratulations, Saint Lord. You have obtained a precious treasure," Dirulai said enviously. However, Dirulai only had admiration. Other than that, he didn't have any other thoughts. After Jiangchen put away the treasure, he took another glance at the mountain range. There were no more Buddha demon Bo Sun. and the other demon generals and demon soldiers. Even the temple on the mountain peak was taken away by Jiang Chun. This place had become an empty mountain range. There was nothing else left. Moreover, looking at this mountain range, it seemed to be an ordinary mountain range because of the temple's treasure. Because of its existence, it was slightly special. Now that the temple was taken away by Jiang Chun, this mountain range returned to normal. Let's go, Jiang Chun said faintly, then flew towards Diru Luang. The outer demonic abyss had been completely explored. There was value in remaining here. However, Jiang Chun still hadn't flown out of the courtyard after flying for thousands of miles. He seemed to be trapped. It hasn't dissipated yet? Dirulai asked in surprise. Jiang Chun looked at his surroundings, which were dark and flickering. Suddenly, he circulated the devouring creation art in his body and absorbed the surrounding demonic energy. Dense demonic energy flowed through his body along with the energy in his body. It surged towards Hui Chun from afar, then entered Jiang Chun's body. It was absorbed by Jiang Chun. The demonic energy in the abyss decreased as well. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the formation was completely destroyed. Jiang Chun had completely absorbed the demonic energy within. Inside the originally dark space, it reveals the color of the exits of wisdom. Jiang Chun opened his eyes and looked around. However, to his surprise, Jiang Chun and Dirulai continued to fly upwards for a few thousand miles after absorbing the devil chi. They were still stuck in the abyss and didn't leave the abyss. At this moment, Jiang Chun and Dirulai were both in their hearts. Both were 10%. Could it be that the two of them were going to be trapped here and never be able to get out? It was at this moment that Jiang Chun saw a blur in the corner of his eye. A third. This blurry color was like a ripple on the surface of a calm water. This is the ripple of a formation. It won't be long before the barrier disappears. After sensing it for a while, Jiang Sheng felt a little like the lines in Gongda Pu Hua's novels. The ripple was similar to the ripple produced when the protective formation in the Tai sacred land had dissipated. It seemed that with the fall of Buddha demon Bo Sun, the array formation in the abyss was also slowly dispersing. However, the speed at which it was dispersing was not as fast. It seemed that it would take some time. Moreover, because this formation had been set up by the Buddhist sects in the world of immortals, Jiang Chun knew it was a formation. Moreover, it was on the verge of breaking and dissipating. However, he couldn't find the source of it and couldn't use force to break it. He could only wait patiently. Seems like we need to stay here for a while, Jiang Chun said faintly. Let's stay here for a while. Since Buddha demon Bo Sun has already fallen, there's no danger here. Coincidentally, under the pressure of Bo Sun, my aura showed signs of a breakthrough. Why don't we cultivate here for a while? Dirulai thought for a while and said inkings. Gong Shengwei felt the abundant foundation in his body. He also felt the energy from absorbing a lot of demonic energy. Not only Dirulai, but he also needed to cultivate. They would stay here for a while. Soon after, Jiang Chun and Dirulai returned to the bottom of the abyss. In the mountain range where the Buddha demon ripple was sealed, they casually found a mountain top and opened up two simple caves. Then they started to cultivate inside. In a stone room in the cave, Jiang Chun sat cross-legged with his heart closed. After calming down, he started to circulate the divine elephant overpowering force in his body. In an instant, Lu Ho's power surged through Jiang Chun's meridians like a raging river, forming a cycle within his body. As for mobilizing this energy, Jiang Chun didn't find it difficult at all. He was able to do it easily. He even felt that the energy surging in his meridians was far from the limit of what he could circulate. However, if he were to circulate more, his meridians might not be able to withstand it and break. Seems like after absorbing the demonic energy in the abyss, the foundation in my body has reached a terrifying level. Jiang Chun took it all in. His heart was in a daze. He had once absorbed the Western demonic chi in the abyss. View. Calm the first time was before entering the formation at the bottom of the abyss. He had absorbed all the demonic energy within 50,000 miles of the abyss. The second time was when he had absorbed the demonic energy from the bottom of the abyss. The amount of demonic energy he had absorbed both times was huge. Even Jiang Chen didn't know how much demonic energy he had absorbed. But now, all the demonic energy had been refined by the furnace in his body. It had merged into his limbs and bones, becoming his foundation. With a slight pull, endless amounts of energy flowed into him. The foundation contained in this had long reached an unknown level in the deep plains. Jiangbu was in Ranguangyi's mind. He could use the foundation in his body to break through the bottleneck of the longevity realm. He would definitely be able to break through Song Po's lead and reach the realm of immortality in one fell swoop. He did as he thought. Jiang Chen circulated the divine elephant overpowering force with all his might. The river of energy in his body surged like a raging dragon, whistling through every inch of his flesh and blood. The feeling of a breakthrough lingered in his body, inside and outside his body. A breakthrough is a miraculous thing. It was as if there was a dam blocking the torrential Julie River, preventing the mana from continuing to flow forward. This dam should have been enough to stop Jiang Chen's breakthrough. But now, Jiang Chen's river of energy had become a raging river. In front of such a terrifying spiritual energy river, the river dam that blocked the path was only blocked for a moment, before it was broken through by the spiritual energy river. Suddenly, a crisp sound rang out. A new second level of energy emanated from Jiang Ji's body as he sat cross-legged. This is a new level of immortality in the realm of will. At this level, even if Jiang Chen was killed, as long as there was a drop of blood left, he could be reborn. He could rise again. The vitality of a worker could be said to be extremely strong. This was truly, in a certain sense, reaching the realm of immortality and indestructibility. The reason it was called in a certain sense was because if an enemy was strong enough to protect you, they would never leave you alive. Chapter 264. You pervert. Not only do you have improper thoughts about my sister, but you also did those things to me. I'm going to kill you. Lu Fei took out the jade bow that she had used in the illusion. Whoosh 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 whoosh. 5 arrows whizzed out in a row. Su Yang couldn't do anything to such a fierce woman. He immediately used the star seal. He blocked all 5 arrows. What? You pervert can block 5 of my arrows? Let's see how you block 10 of my arrows. Lu Fei didn't want to give up. Whoosh 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 whoosh. 10 sharp arrows formed from spiritual power shot toward Su Yang in an instant. Whether it was speed or power, they were a level higher than the previous 5 arrows. Dragon Warrior Sword Technique. Boom boom boom. 10 purple lightning dragons fell from the sky. Once again, Lu Fei's 10 arrows were all destroyed. Your strength. This made Lu Fei very surprised. With her cultivation at the peak of LV1 of the Earth Martial Realm, it should be easy for her to deal with the kid at LV7 of the Profound Martial Realm. She felt that the previous 5 arrows were overkill. She didn't expect Su Yang to block them so easily, but now after she shot 10 arrows, they were still easily blocked by Su Yang. Wasn't this a little too strange? Lu Fei didn't believe it and continued to shoot arrows. But what surprised her was that Su Yang easily blocked them. This kid. Damn it. Lu Fei gritted her teeth. Fortunately, she didn't attack in the end. She directly said to Su Yang, "What's the relationship between you and my sister? She asked me to invite you to join the Hidden Dragon Alliance. And now you're in the illusion." Su Yang sneered. So the Hidden Dragon Alliance invited him because of Lu Ruyan. You and your sister. It's the kind of relationship you're thinking of. Impossible. Why would my sister like a country boy like you? Lu Fei didn't believe him. Oh, then you don't understand your sister at all. Why do you think your sister would ask you to invite me for no reason? To tell you the truth, this is love. But you're still young, so it's normal that you don't know this. Su Yang made up nonsense. Brat, who told you I'm still young? I'll be 16 in a year. Lu Fei said angrily. The thing she hated the most was people calling her small. You're small everywhere. I'll kill you. Then he charged towards Su Yang again. After all, Lu Fei was Rian Lu's sister. Naturally, Su Yang would not be cruel to her. Seeing that Lu Fei's little universe had erupted again, he was too lazy to continue wasting time with Lu Fei. He turned around and used the dragon's 9 steps, disappearing into the darkness of the dark forest. While leaving, Su Yang didn't forget to remind her. Little girl, Call me brother-in-law in the future, okay? Before his voice died away, Su Yang's figure had already disappeared without a trace. Lu Feier had nowhere to go. How can this guy be so fast? Lu Feier was shocked again. Her curiosity and anger toward Su Yang multiplied. After getting rid of Lu Feier, Su Yang quickly found Wei Kuei in the misty area. At this time, Wei Kuei had also entered the dreamland. Looking at his expression of enjoyment, it seemed that he was deeply immersed in it and could not extricate himself. Seeing this, Su Yang immediately used a method to break the illusion to wake Wei Kuei up. Brother Longwu, thank you so much. If you hadn't woken me up, I would have been trapped in it forever. Wei Kuei was very grateful to Su Yang. If Lu Feier knew the scene in Wei Kuei's dreamland, she would definitely be furious. Because the reason why he was immersed in the dreamland was because Lu Feier was inside. In the months since he came to the Taiqing Palace, he had long been attracted to Lu Feier. You and I are a whole. There's no need to stand on ceremony. Su Yang waved his hand. The dark forest became more and more dangerous the further one went. Even though Su Yang had the god's eyes of destruction, he was careless several times. This time, a level 9 Xian beast suddenly jumped out. Su Yang originally wanted to tame it and use it to explore the way for him. But on second thought, it was best not to expose too many trump cards. So he steeled his heart and directly killed the level 9 Xian beast. Su Yang and Wei Kuei also encountered a swamp, and Wei Kuei's body almost sank into it. Fortunately, Su Yang's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He pulled him out of the swamp, and then went around the swamp. Just like that, more than an hour passed. The exit should not be far ahead. The two of them finally reached the last part of the first stage. As long as they found the exit of the dark forest, the two of them would become Outer Palace disciples. Regarding this, Wei Kuei was indescribably happy. He didn't dare to have extravagant hopes of becoming an Inner Palace disciple. He was already satisfied to become an Outer Palace disciple. He was very grateful to Su Yang from the bottom of his heart. He knew very well that if it wasn't for Su Yang, the dark forest would definitely be many times more difficult for him. It was very likely that he would have already been eliminated. However, what Su Yang and Wei Kuei didn't expect was that before they found the exit, they encountered 50 to 60 people. Among these 50 to 60 people, more than 30 of them were holding a sword in their hands. Wei Kuei recognized them at a glance. Wasn't this the Myriad Swords Alliance that had the most people in the Dark Forest? Su Yang remembered that there were 50 to 60 people in the Myriad Swords Alliance's team. He didn't expect that with so many people in the team, half of them would still be eliminated. From this, it could be seen that the Dark Forest was indeed very dangerous. Other than the 30 people from the Myriad Swords Alliance, there were more than 20 disciples that Su Yang and Wei Kuei didn't recognize. At this moment, all of these disciples were unwillingly being held hostage by the Myriad Swords Union. At this time, the Myriad Swords Alliance also saw Su Yang and Wei Kuei, but all of them suddenly laughed excitedly. One of the 250 pounds of fat young man said to Su Yang and Wei Kuei with a smile, "Friend, I have something to discuss with you too." Su Yang frowned. The exit of the dark forest was clearly in front of them. Why weren't the Myriad Swords Alliance leaving? Why were they holding the others hostage? If they passed the first stage earlier, wouldn't they be able to enter the second stage earlier and fight for a spot in the top 100 to become an Inner Palace disciple? With doubts in his heart, Su Yang looked ahead. Soon he found some clues. It turned out that the path ahead was shrouded in a poisonous fog. This poisonous fog had a great effect on the human body. If one rashly entered, it was very likely that they would be immediately poisoned and heavily injured, thus being eliminated. If they didn't pass through this poisonous fog, then they would have to take a long detour and waste a lot of time. It was very likely that they would have to retreat a certain distance. Seeing that the exit was right in front of them, the Myriad Swords Alliance naturally didn't want to take a detour and retreat. Fortunately, they soon found out that this poisonous fog wasn't invincible. As long as someone entered and breathed in the poison, the density of the poisonous fog would become thinner. Once it became thinner to a certain extent, they would be able to use their spirit energy to protect their body and safely pass through. Thus, they waited here for the foolish disciples to arrive. As long as they gathered enough people and sacrificed them in the poisonous fog, the Myriad Swords Alliance would be able to reap the benefits and swagger through the poisonous fog ahead. This wasn't right. He estimated that he was just short of 2 spendthrifts. Su Yang and Wei Kuei appeared in their line of sight. How could the Myriad Swords Alliance not be excited? Are you calling us friends? Do you think a fat pig like you is worthy of being friends with us? Su Yang's words were extremely shocking. Since he knew that they didn't have good intentions, Su Yang naturally didn't have any reason to be nice to them. The face of the fat disciple from the Myriad Swords Alliance immediately darkened. First, he hated it when people called him fat, even though he really was fat. Second, he didn't think that he would have so many teammates behind him, while the other side only had 2 people, yet they still dared to be so arrogant. This made the disciple feel that he had lost a lot of face. He immediately didn't give Su Yang and Wei Kuei any face. You 2 dogs, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Since it's like this, then get the hell over here. Obediently follow these dregs into the poisonous fog. Oh, you want us to get the hell over here? Do you have the qualifications? I'm going to stand here and not move. Let's see how you're going to make me get the hell over here. Su Yang crossed his arms and stared at the fat disciple without fear. His eyes and words were filled with contempt. This made the fat disciple even more furious. More importantly, Su Yang was only at the 7th level of the profound martial realm. Even among all the disciples in the entrance examination, this level of cultivation was at the bottom of the pile. This was no longer a matter of face. This was a matter of personal dignity. I'm going to cripple you, you ungrateful guy, and then throw you into the poisonous fog. Let's see how you're going to resist. The fat disciple was boiling with anger. Before he finished speaking, his body had already moved. Like a fierce tiger coming out of the mountain, he threw out a punch, causing gusts of wind and even surging waves. Just stepped into the 9th level of the profound martial realm? With this little strength, I don't even need to use my hands, and I can make you look for your teeth on the ground. Su Yang smiled mockingly. He stood in place, not moving an inch. Everyone was stunned. How could he make someone look for their teeth on the ground without using his hands? This kid really knew how to brag. But the next scene made everyone's jaws drop, because the fat disciple's punch was clearly aimed at Su Yang's face. Even if it was an Earth martial realm martial artist, at such a close distance, this punch would absolutely be impossible to dodge. But the fat disciple's punch actually missed. It almost brushed past Su Yang's cheek. After missing the punch, the fat disciple seemed to be too heavy, and his whole body unconsciously tilted forward, as if his body was too heavy and inertia was too great. Bang! After a series of tremors, the fat disciple actually fell down on his face. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? But they saw Su Yang kindly help the fat boy up. Brother, you're too careless. Even if you want to fight, you have to look at the ground. Did you trip over something? It's okay. You're still a man when you stand up. Let's do it again. As soon as these words came out, everyone was even more stunned. What did this kid want to do? What the hell did he mean by doing it again? While they were surprised and puzzled, the fat disciple who was very unconvinced had already stood up trembling. This time, he stood in front of Su Yang and decided to take him by surprise. Before Su Yang finished speaking, his fist had already blasted out, still aiming at Su Yang's head. But the fist missed again. The fat disciple's body tilted forward again, as if inertia was too great. Bang! There was still a crisp sound, and a burst of earth shaking. The fat disciple fell down on his face again. Hey brother, why don't you have eyes? I told you to look at the ground when you fight. Did you trip over something again? Su Yang shook his head and sighed. Everyone was bewildered. The fat disciple clearly stood in place and punched. His feet didn't even move. How could he trip? But from the way he fell, it was obvious that he had tripped and fallen. What was going on? Speaking of this, Su Yang helped the fat disciple up again. Remember to look at the ground this time. Su Yang kindly reminded him. The fat disciple was unwilling to give up and attacked again. This time he even showed his long sword. But the long sword stabbed out. But it still missed. Then, the fat disciple's body still seemed to be tripped by something, and fell heavily to the ground with a bang. It also made everyone's heart contract violently. What the hell? After 3 heavy falls, coupled with the fat disciple's body, the fat disciple even lost 2 front teeth. His mouth was full of blood. It was as if he was looking for his teeth on the ground. This kid can actually make him look for his teeth on the ground without making a move? My God, how did he do it? Everyone was extremely shocked. But only Su-young knew. It was his shadowless kick that tripped the fat disciple. This shadowless kick didn't have any power. It was just that it was extremely fast. In his previous life, he used it to tease and play with other great emperors. In this life, it was more than enough to play with the disciple in the 9th stage of the profound martial realm. Big brother, do you still want to cripple me? Su-young went to help the fat disciple again. The fat disciple shook his head hard. This Su-young was too strange. If he dared to make a move, he would definitely fall to his death. As soon as he said this, Su-young, who was halfway supporting the fat disciple, suddenly let go of his hand. Bang! The fat disciple fell to the ground again. His face was completely disfigured. But it wasn't over. Since you don't dare to cripple me, it's my turn to cripple you. Su-young smiled mockingly. Su-young directly lifted the fat disciple's feet. Suddenly, the fat disciple who was like a giant elephant was like a rag doll in Su-young's hand. Bang! Su-young lifted the fat disciple's body into the air, and then slammed him to the ground. The fat disciple's face hit the ground, and a crack appeared on the ground. Su-young didn't stop. Bang! He lifted the fat disciple into the air again, and slammed him to the ground. Everyone's hearts were about to explode. This is too fierce, isn't it? Then, everyone saw the same scene in horror. That was, the fat disciple was lifted into the air and slammed to the ground. He was lifted into the air again and slammed down again. He was lifted into the air again and slammed down again. This repeated again and again. At first, the fat disciple screamed like an accompaniment, but after a dozen times, the fat disciple no longer made a sound. In the end, the fat disciple's body disappeared from Su-young's hand. Everyone knew that the fat disciple was seriously injured and was directly eliminated by the dark forest formation. In other words, Su-young, who was at the 7th stage of the profound martial realm, smashed a disciple at the 9th stage of the profound martial realm and eliminated him. This scene was simply too eye-catching. So much so that the rest of the Myriad Swords Alliance looked at Su-young with a trace of fear in their eyes. Even the leader of the Myriad Swords Alliance, Li Jian, narrowed his eyes and his expression became slightly serious. Is there anyone else who wants to discuss something with us? If there is, then come forward. Of course, if you think that one person doesn't have the courage, I don't mind if all of you in the Myriad Swords Alliance come forward and discuss with us. Su-young patted the dust off his body and said to the Myriad Swords Alliance members as if nothing had happened. The Myriad Swords Alliance members looked at each other, but no one spoke. Chapter 265. In fact, Jun Haoyan could even smell the scent of annihilation from it. Therefore, Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Arhut took advantage of this opportunity to use their movement skills to pass through the many spatial fragments. When they made it through, Jun Haoyan's eyes lit up. He looked up and saw a thin line in the sky. Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Arhut were at the bottom of the abyss. There was no trace of demonic aura in the abyss. Behind Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Arhut, there were countless cracks and collapses. Jun Haoyan looked back and saw the broken space. It seemed that they had really fallen into the strange space in the abyss. Under Jun Haoyan's watchful gaze, the entire space eventually collapsed. Everything within had disappeared without a trace. Even the mountain range, where the temple's magical treasure was located, had completely disappeared without a trace. From the looks of it, it had also been destroyed along with it. After watching for a while, Jun Haoyan stopped paying attention to it and flew toward the top of the abyss. Along the way, Jinluan Arhut couldn't help but sigh. Who would have thought that Demon King Bo Sun, a member of the demon clan, was hiding in this abyss? More importantly, the Buddhists of the small lane temple, whom the Buddhists had been worried about, were all dead. Jinluan Arhat couldn't help but sigh. When he returned to the Vajra temple, he had to explain the situation to the abbot. After that, he had to organize a grand expiation ceremony. Soon, Jun Haoyan and Jinluan Arhat left the abyss and came to the surface. Holy Lord, you have come to the western desert to help us solve this problem. Why don't you come to the Vajra temple? We will organize an expiation ceremony. Holy Lord, you have helped us get rid of Demon King Bo Sun. Our abbot will be very grateful to you. Jinluan Arhat put his hands together and invited Jun Haoyan. His invitation to Jun Haoyan came from the bottom of his heart. He had no ulterior motives. Of course, even if he had any evil intentions, he would need to have enough Buddhist strength first. Jun Haoyan was now in the immortal and undying realm. His strength was comparable to the martial god continent's immortal realm. He had many supreme emperor arts and supreme weapons. Some were even stronger than that. The world was vast, and Jiang Qin could go anywhere he wanted. However, when Jun Haoyan heard this, he thought for a moment and shook his head. He had already spent a lot of time on this trip, so there was no need for him to go to the Titanium Temple. Instead, he wanted to return to the Langya sacred land to digest his gains from this trip to the abyss. As for going to the Vajra temple, forget about it. Waving his hand, Jun Haoyan was just about to refuse. Just then, he saw two monks approaching from afar. He had already seen the two monks earlier. They seemed to be waiting for him here. When they saw the two of them, they quickly approached them, as if there was something urgent. You're monks from the Titanium Temple. What's the matter? Jinluan Arhat looked at the two monks and asked curiously. Arhat, the abbot asked us to look for the Holy Lord of Langya. The two monks came forward and bowed respectfully. Looking for me? Jun Haoyan looked at the two monks, but he did not know why they were looking for him. However, he had a bad feeling in his heart. Holy Lord of Langya, our abbot asked us to inform you that the Langya sacred land is in trouble. The two monks said. Jun Haoyan's eyes narrowed when he heard this. No wonder he had a bad feeling. It turned out that the Langya sacred land was in trouble. Could it be that the people from the Qingyan sacred land had joined forces to deal with the Langya sacred land? A trace of coldness appeared in Jun Haoyan's eyes. Jun Haoyan had killed the Holy Lords and the Holy Sun from the Luotian sacred land, Qingyan sacred land, and Yaoguang sacred land. If he did not kill them last time, he would not mind killing them again. He would remove their sacred land from the martial god continent. A dangerous light flashed in Jun Haoyan's eyes. Did your abbot say what kind of trouble it is? Could it be the people from the Luotian sacred land? Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes and asked calmly. However, to his surprise, the two monks shook their heads to indicate that they were not. Holy Lord, you've misunderstood. It's not the other sacred lands, but the people from the other worlds. Long ago, the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan from the Divine Monster continent had descended from the world's barrier. Once they descended, they came straight for the Langya sacred land. They are now surrounding the entrance of the Langya sacred land and are about to attack the Langya sacred land. The two monks answered. After they finished speaking, they braced themselves and waited for Jun Haoyan's reaction. They were prepared to face Jun Haoyan's anger. However, to their surprise, Jun Haoyan was not too surprised. He was only slightly surprised. So it's not the people from the Luotian sacred land. It's the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan. Jun Haoyan's eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. He had expected that the two great demon clans would come to the Langya sacred land. After all, he had killed the Jiao demon king from the martial god continent. The nine-headed dragon clan in the martial god continent was just a branch of the nine-headed dragon clan in the divine monster continent. However, even though he had predicted that they would attack, he had never expected that this day would come so quickly. Could it be that the world's barrier has sped up the reduction of 2 in XSW? Jiang Qin guessed in his heart. Although he had never been to the world's barrier, he could guess it by asking around. Previously, when the world's barrier weakened, it welcomed many geniuses from the other worlds. And now, it was likely that even more powerful people were about to arrive. Hogong, but even so, what could he do? As long as it wasn't an ancient saint, he could still fight them with his strength. He was never afraid of a battle between two geniuses. Since they had offended his woman, they should be prepared to bleed. Jiang Chen's gaze flickered with coldness. Brother D, I may not be able to go to the Great Thunderclap Temple with you. Jiang Chen turned his head and spoke to Di Rulai. It's all right. The Tai sacred land is more important. Please go ahead, Holy Lord. 100 rebels. Emperor Rulai hurriedly replied. He still addressed Jiang Chen as Holy Lord. Although he was on good terms with Jiang Chen was still the Tai sacred land's Holy Lord. He was on the same level as the Great Thunderclap Temple. Jiang Chen nodded calmly, then looked in the direction of the Eastern Baron. He turned into a streak of light and sped away. Just as Jiang Chen was hurrying from the Buddhist land of Gaoxi to the Tai sacred land in the Eastern Baronym, CPG Eastern Baron, Tai sacred land. At this time, thousands of figures were suspended in the void outside the Tai sacred ground, blocking the entrance of the Tai sacred ground. They all looked at the greater one holy land with sharp eyes. The unfriendly look in their eyes, as well as the killing intent that soared into the sky, was self-evident. What was even more shocking was that although there were only a few thousand of them, they were enough to overwhelm the entire Tai sacred land. It was as if the Tai sacred land was no more than a chicken or dog in their eyes. They could kill it at any time. The reason for that was because these thousands of figures were all incredibly powerful. Just by floating in the air, without any movement or expression, they exerted a great deal of pressure. Every one of them had a long breath, and their vitality was as vast as a river. It was obvious that they possessed an extremely high level of cultivation and power. Even the weakest among them exuded an aura of immortality. They were all experts at the immortal realm or above. Among the thousands of figures, there were number 8302 people whose strength was weaker than the immortal realm. It must be known that even in the greater one holy land, there were only a few hundred elders and seas above the immortal realm. As for the immortal realm, there were even fewer, only a few dozen people. Among these floating figures, the most powerful one was faintly shaking the void, emitting a trace of the aura of an ancient saint. Only the existence of an ancient saint could possess such an aura. However, although this person had the aura of an ancient saint, the intensity of the aura was extremely weak. Obviously, he was not a true ancient saint, but an immortal realm expert who was half a step into the ancient saint realm. However, even though he was half a step into the ancient saint realm, he was still not an ordinary immortal realm expert. The combat strength that he could exert was enough to crush an immortal realm expert. Now this person narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze was fixed on the Tai sacred land, exuding an astonishing killing intent. Even though the Tai Air Holy Land had already raised the sect-slapping formation, and the light of the formation was shining everywhere, and it seemed to have a terrifying power. But in his eyes, it was nothing at all. Elder Jinhua, the people in the Tai sacred land are already doomed. When should we launch an attack and destroy them? At this time, a young man flew to the side of the golden-robed elder. He respectfully bowed, and then asked with a little expectation. He had long been very interested in the operation of destroying a sacred land. He wanted to experience the pleasure of unscrupulous killing. So when the golden-winged Great Rock clan decided to attack the Tai sacred land, he couldn't wait to apply for this operation. When Elder Jinhua heard this, he turned his head and glanced at him. The moonlight was so calm that it seemed to contain nothing, but it made the excited young man's heart tremble. Then he lowered his head and waited for the reprimand. Don't worry, the Peacock clan has already hidden in the Void Worm, blocking all the escape routes of the Tai sacred land. No matter what they do, they will die. It's just a matter of time. Elder Jinhua said indifferently. Dan. Since Elder Jinhua had spoken, the young man didn't dare to say anything more. He hurriedly agreed and then left. After he returned from Elder Jinhua's place, he walked into the crowd of thousands of young people. A few of them looked at him with expectant gazes and asked, "What do you think? How is it? What did Elder Jinhua say? When should we make a move?" His tone was full of anticipation. Elder Jinhua said. We have to wait a little longer. There's no rush. The young man replied somewhat gloomily. The other young golden-winged Great Rock clan members, when they heard the young man's words, suddenly looked a little disappointed. They didn't want to make a move against Elder Jinhua. There were some complaints, but even so, they didn't dare to say it out loud. It was rumored that if they angered Elder Jinhua, he would even dare to slaughter his own people. His fierce reputation had long been known among the younger generation, but after thinking for a while, they all let go of the disappointment in their hearts. Anyway, the Tai Holy Land has already been trapped by us. It is rumored that the people of the Peacock clan are secretly assisting. Even a fly can't fly out of the Tai Holy Land. No matter what, the people of the Tai Holy Land can't escape. They can only wait quietly for their slaughter. That was what everyone was thinking. Looking at the moonlight of the Tai Holy Land, they all sneered. Some wanted to be like the young man before. And the light was full of killing intent. They wanted to experience the pleasure of killing at will. Some licked their lips, and some were ready to make a move. They seemed to treat the people of the Tai Holy Land as blood food. Some seemed to think of the female disciples of the Tai Holy Land, and there was a lewd light in their light. At the forefront of these people, Elder Jinhua stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the Tai Holy Land with an incomparably sharp gaze. He was actually Jin Liang's uncle. Jin Liang's father had been greatly shaken by the incident in the Black-Yellow Great Realm. After asking for forefather Goldenwing's permission, he wanted to personally lead his people to destroy the Tai Holy Land. However, he was unable to leave because of a mission. The king had entrusted Jinhua with the task of destroying the Tai Holy Land, and Jinhua had always doted on Jin Liang. Therefore he agreed without hesitation. Tai Holy Land, Jiang Chun kill me. My nephew Liang. I will make you pay with your lives. Jin Liang looked at the Tai Holy Land. His killing intent was bone-chilling. As for Jiang Chun, your soul should be destroyed so that I can cut you open with my own hands. The reason he hadn't made a move until now was because of Jiang Chun. He had received news that Jiang Chun had become the Holy Lord of the Tai Holy Land, and that he had run off to the Western Desert during this time. He hadn't returned yet. He was worried that he would destroy the Tai Holy Land too soon. Jiang Chun hadn't returned yet. If that was the case, Jiang Chun would very likely flee in fear after hearing the news of the Tai Holy Land's destruction. If that was the case, then it would be extremely troublesome to find him. Therefore he might as well surround the Tai Holy Land. Then he would draw Jiang Chun's attention, and destroy him, and the Tai Holy Land in one fell swoop. Chapter 266. Just as the nine-headed divine dragon clan had surrounded the Langia sacred ground, in the meeting hall of the Langia sacred ground, everyone, I'm afraid that the Langia sacred ground has reached a critical juncture. The nine-headed divine dragon clan from the divine demon continent is guarding the entrance of the Langia sacred ground. They are ready to attack us at any time. Tao Xian sat on the main seat with a solemn expression. His gaze swept across the crowd in the hall as he spoke solemnly. There were many people sitting in the hall. They were all key figures in the Langia sacred ground. Other than the elders of the various halls, many elders who lived in seclusion were already seated in the hall. The supreme elder sat at the front of them. After hearing Tao Xian's words, these people did not show any fear. Instead, they were extremely determined. We will live and die with the sacred ground. We will live and die with the sacred ground. Everyone was incomparably resolute, and had no intention of backing down. This scene was witnessed by Dao Yan, causing him to feel extremely gratified in his heart. With such disciples from the sacred ground, he was naturally happy for the Langia sacred ground. Without the interference of a powerful enemy, like the nine-headed divine dragon clan, the Langia sacred ground might have flourished until it reached its peak. But it's a pity. The sacred lord has not grown up yet. Facing such a powerful enemy, he should not be able to do anything. Thinking of this, Tao Xian and even hoped that Jun Haoyan did not know what had happened here, and that it would be best if he did not return. After all, if even Jun Haoyan fell, the Langia sacred ground would be completely doomed. However, the The good thing is that the nine-headed divine dragon clan only sealed the mountain gate. Our true disciples and some other disciples with potential were all led away by the punishment elder in the clan through a secret exit. The legacy of the Langia sacred ground will not be severed. Tao Xian looked at the almost desperate determination of everyone in the hall and comforted them. However, before he could finish speaking, many rushing sounds hurriedly sounded from outside the large hall. Tao Xian looked out of the hall in shock. Then, he saw the punishment elder walk in with an ashen face. Grand Elder, when we were looking for a way out, we ran into the Green Hill Fox clan. The punishment elder said in a deep voice. What? When Tao Xian heard this, he was shocked and immediately asked, "Where are our true disciples? Were they killed by the Green Hill Foxes?" "No, they are very strange. They only blocked our path, but did not attack us. All the direct disciples have been brought back by me. At this moment, they are in the plaza outside the large hall." Hearing this, the punishment elder shook his head and said. When Tao Xian heard this, he looked out of the hall. In the square outside the palace, all the true disciples were standing. There was a total of 108 of them. Behind them, there were other disciples. The same determination could be seen on the faces of these disciples. It seemed that they were also prepared to live and die with the Langia sacred ground. When Tao Xian saw this scene, he immediately sighed. It doesn't matter to us old fellows, but it's hard for these children. His tone was filled with helplessness and sadness. It's really strange. The nine-headed serpent clan is guarding the mountain pass, and the Green Hill Foxes are guarding the retreat. They could easily crush the sacred ground and destroy us, but they are holding back. I don't know why. At this moment the Grand Elder, who was sitting in front of the many elders, frowned and was puzzled. When Li Daoi heard this, he shook his head and said helplessly, "It's as if they are waiting for something." When he said this, Tao Xian seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed. Could it be that their goal was the sacred Lord Jun Haotian? They wanted to lure the sacred Lord back and kill him directly? The more Tao Xian thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Then, he became more and more frightened. Jun Haotian was the hope of the Langia sacred ground. With Jun Haotian, even if the Langia sacred ground was destroyed, they would at least have a successor. In the future, they might even be able to avenge the Langia sacred ground. However, if even Jun Haotian was killed, then the Langia sacred ground would truly be finished. You're saying that their goal is the sacred lord? When the Grand Elder heard this, he was shocked and asked with a pale face. He also thought of Tao Xian's thoughts. When Tao Xian heard this, he nodded helplessly. After receiving his affirmation, there was finally a wave of panic in the hall. At this moment, they were finally a little worried. However, no matter how worried they were, there was nothing they could do. Now that the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan had surrounded the Langia sacred ground, there was no way they could send a message to Jun Haotian. Now they could only resign themselves to fate. When he thought of this, Tao Xian's face was filled with sorrow. At this point he was also at his wit's end. He could only hope that Jun Haotian would not return so quickly, or that he would choose to hide after learning about the crisis in the Langia sacred ground, and not choose to come to the rescue of the Langia sacred ground. Amidst such an atmosphere, the Langia sacred ground was surrounded by the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan for 3 whole days. During these 3 days, although the Langia sacred ground was in despair, they did not give up trying. They tried all kinds of methods to send a message to the outside world. They tried to inform Jun Haotian of the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan's conspiracy, but it was to no avail. They used all kinds of magic to send a message, but under the inescapable net of the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan, they were still useless. They were seen through immediately. Even a day ago, Tao Xian gritted his teeth and tried to force his way through the encirclement of the nine-headed dragon clan to send a message to Jun Haotian, but he was helplessly beaten back with serious injuries. At this point, the Langia sacred ground had exhausted all means and was really at their wits' end. It was in such an atmosphere. On this day, in the sky to the west of the Langia sacred ground, there was a sharp sound of something breaking through the air. A figure turned into a golden rainbow and under everyone's gaze, it was like a phantom, flying towards the Langia sacred ground at an extremely fast speed. Whether it was the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan outside the Langia sacred ground, or the people inside the Langia sacred ground, everyone was shocked when they saw the streak of light. This was because the streak of light did not conceal itself at all. Instead, it completely released its aura and descended upon this world. In this streak of light, everyone could sense Jun Haoyan's aura and see Jun Haoyan's figure. Then everyone's reaction was different. Within the Langia sacred ground, Tao Xian, the Grand Elder, and many other elders and true disciples were all shocked. Then they became worried, despaired, and all kinds of emotions followed. It was close. That streak of light, it's the Holy Lord's figure. The Holy Lord is finally back. Will he save us? Sigh. I heard from the elders that the nine-headed dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan's goal is to lure the Holy Lord back. And then? You mean, even the Holy Lord is going to die with the Langia sacred ground? I'm afraid so. Even the Holy Lord is going to die. Then when we all die, who will avenge us? Many disciples stood in the square of the Langia sacred ground and looked at the familiar figure in the sky as they discussed among themselves. Then, a feeling of sadness rose within them. Sigh, the Holy Lord is back in the end. What should we do? Tao Xian led a group of elders and floated in the void above the Langia sacred ground. He looked at Jun Haoyan's figure as he appeared and said helplessly. Behind him were the helpless expressions of the elders. This time, perhaps the Langia sacred ground was really going to be completely destroyed. This was the reaction of the people in the Langia sacred ground. However, in the eyes of the nine-headed dragon clan, all of them were overjoyed. That's the Holy Lord of the Langia sacred ground, Jun Haoyan? He's the one who doesn't know what's good for him. He dared to kill the people of the nine-headed dragon clan. Now that he's here, the massacre is about to begin. How exciting! I'm actually tempted by the bodies of the female disciples inside. These young nine-headed dragon clan members were all excited when they saw Jun Haoyan appear. They were all talking about him. Among them, the person that was the happiest was none other than the leader of the nine-headed divine dragon clan, Elder Ao Han. He had been waiting at the mountain gate of the Langia sacred ground for so many days to lure Jun Haoyan here. Now that he saw Jun Haoyan appear, a fierce look suddenly appeared in his eyes. His eyes were filled with a shocking murderous intent. The dermic power in his body leaked out uncontrollably, causing the void to tremble slightly. Without saying a word, he leaped up and flew at an extremely fast speed. It seemed as if it was leaping through space, rushing towards Jun Haoyan's escape light like a bolt of lightning. He was ready to kill Jun Haoyan directly and use his blood as a sacrifice to Ao Liang's nephew. When he flew up, several powerful figures also appeared behind him. Those were people who were also in the immortal realm. There were more than a dozen of them in total, including Ao Han, who was at the peak of the immortal realm, and half a step into the emperor realm. There were a total of 8 people who were above the immortal realm. They were all charging towards Jun Haoyan at the same time. However, even with such a powerful lineup, it was not over yet. The void around the Langia sacred ground trembled. Many figures appeared from it. These figures were all wearing colorful robes. The corners of their eyes were long and narrow, and their gazes were unusually fierce. They were the leader of the Green Hill Fox clan and his clansmen. Just like the nine-headed divine flood dragon clan, they hated Jun Haoyan to the core, because Jun Haoyan had also killed the fairy fox king. Jun Haoyan is finally here. I can't wait any longer. One of the most powerful figures among them was the same as Ao Han of the nine-headed divine flood dragon clan. He had reached the peak of the immortal realm, faintly exuding an emperor realm aura, causing the void to faintly tremble. He laughed mischievously. Just like Ao Han, he also flew into the air. Let's go. We can't just let the nine-headed divine flood dragon clan take advantage of us. We can't fall behind either. Jun Haoyan must die in the hands of our Green Hill Fox clan. Behind this figure, there were also 6 immortal realm experts with the same powerful aura as him. For a moment, more than 10 immortal realm experts flew towards Jiang Chen at the same time. Among them, there were even 2 who had comprehended a trace of the ancient Saint Qi. These people were all filled with killing intent. Moreover, the light emitted a terrifying killing intent. They looked at Jiang Chun as if he was their prey, and wanted to kill him on the spot. The mightiness created by so many experts flying towards Jiang Chun at the same time was extremely great, although there were only 7 of them. It gave people the feeling that the whole world was rushing towards them at the same time. It was extremely terrifying. This is bad. Li Daoi's face turned pale when he saw this scene. He was worried about the most. There were more than 10 Immortal Realm experts besieging Jiang Chun at the same time. Some of them were even on the verge of breaking through to the ancient Saint Realm. No matter how strong Jiang Chun was, how could he withstand such a ferocious attack? Li Daoi could already foresee the tragic scene that was about to unfold. At this moment, the clansmen of the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan and the Peacock clan saw the elders of their clan. They were directly out of the sheep, and their faces were filled with excitement. Let's go. The elders have already taken action. It's time for a massacre. Kill all the people of the Tai sacred ground. These people roared excitedly and rushed towards the Tai sacred ground. When they pounced, their bodies were all suffused with a shocking golden or earth-colored light. It was obvious that they were preparing some kind of powerful divine ability. Some of them even transformed into their true form, the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan and the Peacock clan. Their eyes were sparkling with excitement. They were rushing towards the Tai sacred ground. Suddenly, an extremely great sense of crisis descended upon the Tai sacred ground. Formation Mountain Rise. At this moment Li Daoi's eyes became serious. A picture scroll appeared in his hand. It had a terrifying aura, faintly revealing the aura of a great sovereign. He spread it out, and the picture scroll slowly unfolded. A terrifying power was gathering. Text: Imperial Weapon, Tai Splendid Mountain River Painting Scroll. This was the Emperor of Suppression of the Tai Sacred Ground. Li 5. 6 Daoi used the Tai Splendid Mountain River Painting Scroll as the eye of the formation, with many disciples and elders of the Tai Sacred Ground as support. Together, they formed a sect-protecting grand array. Dan. Hearing Li Daoi's figure, all the disciples of the 2 sacred grounds, the true disciples, the core disciples, and even the king's servant disciples, including many elders, all responded. Their voices were firm and resolute. Then, as long as the people of the Tai sacred ground had a trace of cultivation base, they all flew up into the air and came to the void. They sat cross-legged around Li Daoi. Their hands were casting a mysterious secret technique. As the secret technique was cast, their breaths were faintly synchronized, and their auras were faintly synchronized. It was as if they were one. Above the void, the dense lightning of human figures rose. Chapter 267. Rays of magical power shot up into the sky and flowed through the channels of spiritual power. Then, all of them flowed towards Tao Xian, who was in the center of the crowd. The Langya mountain and river diagram in Tao Xian's hand glowed brighter and brighter. Rise! In the next moment, Tao Xian shouted with a serious look in his eyes. As his words fell, the Langya mountain and river diagram in his hand glowed with dazzling light. All of it went into the great protective array, which was placed above the Langya sacred land, like an upside-down bowl. Immediately, after absorbing the many rays of light poured into the Langya mountain river diagram, the originally extremely solid Great Sect Protection Array immediately became bright and dazzling. It was like an iron wall that was made of copper and iron. Just as the Great Protective Array was being strengthened, the members of the Nine-Headed Serpent clan and the Green Hill Fox clan bombarded the Great Protective Array with all kinds of terrifying powers. Even though the sect protecting formation was so solid that it could withstand the continuous attacks of an Undying Realm expert, it constantly shook and rippled, as if it could not withstand the attacks of an Undying Realm expert. Although the Undying and Undying Realm existences of these 2 races had all gone to besiege Jun Haotian, those who remained behind were all at the Undying and Undying Realm, Immortal Creation Realm, and Immortal World King Realm existences. Their combined strength was much more terrifying than an Undying Realm expert. Therefore, under the simultaneous attacks of these people, It would not take long for the great protective array to be broken. However, the good thing was that although it would eventually be broken, it had not been broken yet, and could still hold on for a while. Seeing this, Tao Xian immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Compared to the great protective array, he was more worried about Jun Haoyan's safety. He hoped that Jun Haoyan would choose to escape when he saw so many experts besieging him at the same time, so that he could avenge him one day. There are so many experts even if he escapes. Isn't the hope extremely slim? Tao Xian thought. He was not the only one. Everyone, regardless of whether they were from the Langya sacred ground, the nine-headed serpent and the green hill foxes, had their attention focused on Jun Haoyan's location. They were paying close attention to the battle there. Under everyone's attention, Jiang Chen had also discovered the tin slices here. Ning saw many members of the golden-winged Great Rock clan and the Peacock clan, as if they were facing a great enemy. The people of the Tai Holy Land who had activated the sect-protecting Grand Array when he saw that the golden-winged Peng clan and the Peacock clan had not yet started to make a move, too was still a little confused. After all, when he was still in the western desert, the two races had already surrounded the Tai Holy Land. Now he had rushed here in a hurry. It had been many days, but they still hadn't moved. When he saw more than 10 Immortal Realm experts from the golden-winged Great Rock clan and the Peacock clan rushing towards him, he instantly understood the whole story. So that's how it is. Their main target is me? They want to use the Tai Holy Land to lure me out and eliminate me directly. Jiang Chen understood everything as he looked at the scene in front of him. He was extremely worried. When he rushed to the Tai Holy Land, he would only see a pile of ruins, and it would be too late to do anything. But now, the golden-winged Great Rock clan and the Peacock clan's people had schemed against him, and the Tai Holy Land was still intact. Jiang Chen rejoiced inwardly at this. At this moment, the Tai Holy Land had already started to set up the sect protection formation. Li Daoyi still had the sovereign weapon in his hand as the eye of the formation. He should be able to hold on for a while. Jiang Chen was able to deal with the 8 gods. Tu relaxed and looked at the figures of the experts who were rushing towards him. More than 10 Immortal Realm experts? No, there were even 2 unusual qi among them. Could it be that they were experts who had a trace of the qi of the ancient saints? Jiang Chen was slightly surprised. But fortunately, it was fine as long as they weren't real ancient saints. His realm had already reached the immortal creator realm. Moreover, with the support of many divine abilities and cultivation methods, his combat strength had reached the 2nd level. He had already reached the immortal realm. Besieging him? I'm sorry, but he was really scared of that. Because the strength of the hell-crushing divine elephant had already been nourished by the cauldron. His magical strength was incomparably profound. He would never run out of magical strength. Every time he attacked, he would use his full strength. He was the one who was least afraid of being besieged. He was not afraid of these people at all. It was a good opportunity to use these people to test his strength after breaking through 2 immortal realms. He had never been afraid of battles. Since these people wanted to harm him, then he was going to make them pay a heavy price. Jiang Chen immediately sat down and spoke indifferently. His voice was like rolling thunder, sweeping across the heavens and earth. Good timing. This voice contained great confidence, as if he was confident in the upcoming battle. He had no intention of backing down at all. Have high white-letter general duels. The net head to oppose this voice was heard by many disciples and elders in the sect-protecting formation of the Tai 113 Sacred Land. They were immediately stunned. How can the Sacred Lord still be so confident at a time like this? A disciple asked, puzzled. Have you forgotten? The Sacred Lord has fought every time. They would definitely win every battle. They had never lost before. Although these people were full of vigor, they were powerful and had the advantage in numbers. However, since Sheng Sheng was so confident, he must have the confidence to win. This meant that Sheng Sheng would definitely win this battle. A more fanatical disciple said with incomparable determination. As soon as his voice faded, many people responded to him. They were unusually confident that Jiang Chen could win the battle, and even kill these demons. Edited by Lifer. Fingerfox. This was the influence of Jiang Chen's consistent strength on them. A single sentence, "You came at the right time," had such a huge impact. The disciples of the Tai sacred land, who had almost given up all hope, suddenly had hope. Even Li Daoming and the other elders floating around him were slightly surprised when they heard Jiang Chen's words. They were overjoyed. They all knew Jiang Chen's temperament. The fact that Jiang Chen could say something like this meant that he had great confidence. This meant that there was a very good chance that he would win. Li Daoi looked at Jiang Chen with the moonlight. He wanted to know how high Jiang Chen's cultivation level was. Is it the eternal creator realm? Li Daoi could clearly sense Jiang Chen's current cultivation level. He paused, then rejoiced. Jiang Chen's strength couldn't be measured by his cultivation level. He had always been able to challenge those above his level. Now that he was at the eternal creator realm, he could do it. Maybe he really could. When Li Daoi thought of this, the light instantly became bright, and his eyes were filled with hope. He wasn't the only one. Almost everyone from the Tai sacred land felt the same way. In an instant, the Tai sacred land's situation changed. Even the amount of dermic powers being channeled into the Great Sect Protecting Array became much more abundant. Instantly, the Great Sect Protecting Array shone brightly and became even more solid. The Golden-Winged Great Pung clan and the Peacock clan, who were attacking the Great Sect Protecting Formation, sensed it. They were surprised and bewildered, but when they looked at the Greater One Holy Land, they knew the reason. Now, everyone in the Greater One Holy Land had a smile on their faces, and their fighting spirit was high. How is this possible? They had been despondent before. How did they become so confident in an instant? These demon race people, seeing the scene in the Greater One Holy Land, were stunned. Is this all because of Jiang Chen? A few words from a single person can have such a great effect? Do they really think that Jiang Chen, a mere longevity creator, could defeat the experts of our two clans? More than 10 Immortal Realm experts? Discussions broke out among the crowd. The Golden-Winged Great Pung race and the Peacock race stopped attacking the Great Protective Array when they saw this situation. They all turned to look at Jiang Chen's battlefield. Due to the high fighting spirit of the sacred land, the Great Formation became incomparably strong. They could not break it in a short period of time. They might as well observe the battle over there. It's a good opportunity for them to see how the experts of the two races would deal with Jiang Chen. In the end, the people of the Tai sacred land, the Golden-Winged Great Rocks, and the Peacocks all stopped what they were doing and turned their attention to Jiang Chen's battle. It was at this moment that everyone was looking at Jiang Chen. In any case, Tai Jiang was watching the immortal experts from the two clans dashing towards him at an astonishing speed. His expression was solemn. Although he was very confident in himself, he would never underestimate the enemy. He would not easily fall into a predicament. At least, the 15 experts who were rushing towards him should be reduced by a few. The fastest way to reduce their numbers was to use strong attacks to kill a few of them first. Jiang Chen's body trembled. His mind was filled with various divine arts and techniques. He started chanting at the same time. In his body, there was a frenzied flow of energy. It was like a surging river. It was frenzied yet reasonable. There was no conflict. Around his body, a terrifying amount of spiritual energy was gathering. The moonlight in Jiang City was bright and sharp. Eternal immortal body. Secret of all. Secret of battle. 3 peerless divine abilities that were above the Emperor technique were casted at the same time. It was as if a bell was ringing, causing the space around Jiang Chen to tremble. The eternal immortal body was created by the founder of the Tai sacred land, Tai Great Emperor. It was the cultivation method of the Great Emperor. It was extremely difficult for an ancient saint to cultivate it. It was extraordinarily powerful, and it had greatly strengthened Jiang Chen's body. The secret of all in battle were needless to say. They were the peerless divine arts that Jiang Chen had obtained after reading the Platinum Divine Art. One of them could increase Jiang Chen's overall strength by 10 times. The other one gave Jiang Chen the ultimate combat strength, unparalleled attack and breaking force. 3 types of wild yet not violent auras suddenly emerged from Jiang Chen's body, making one's heart tremble with fear. Jiang Chen's qi started to rise rapidly under the influence of the three types of qi. At this moment in Jiang Chen's body, it was as if three dragon roars were heard. Jiang Chen's qi instantly rose from the eternal creator realm to the immortal creator realm, from the longevity creator realm to the peak of the longevity immortal realm. He had risen directly. At this moment, his combat strength had reached the peak of the immortal realm. However, this was not the end. Jiang Chen was going to take out something else. This time, he was not going to cast out the 6 Dao Divine King Fist. Although the 6 Dao Divine King Fist was an extremely powerful divine art, it was not as powerful as the 9 Dao Divine King Fist. This time, he was going to take out the Great Yi Sun Breaking Heaven Punishing Divine Bow. Jiang Chen flipped his palm. Immediately a golden radiance appeared. Its aura was astonishing, and there were sounds of dragons and phoenixes circling around its body. It was a divine bow that could subdue souls. The Great Yi Sun Breaking Heaven Punishing Divine Bow. At the moment when the bow was taken out, a faint cry could be heard from the sky. It was as if the sky was being suppressed by the divine bow. Jiang Chen did not hesitate after taking out the bow. He immediately assumed an archery posture and pulled the bowstring. The light was as sharp as the eye of the heavens, locking onto a few of the 15 figures that were flying towards him. Frost Hell Creation Heavens. Jiang Chen spat out these words one by one in the cold moonlight. Inside his body, there was an extremely cold magical power that was quietly circulating. The sky seemed to be affected by his Frost Hell Creation heavenly art. It quickly became cold. After a while, snowflakes started to form. They were beautiful and transparent snowflakes. Containing an unimaginable coldness, it slowly floated down. Then these snowflakes seemed to have a life of their own. They fell down and gathered on the Great Yi Sun Breaking Heaven Punishing Divine Bow in Jiang Chen's hand. More and more snowflakes gathered. The 3 crystals were sparkling and translucent. However, it emitted an ice arrow that could freeze space. It gradually took shape on the Tai Yi Sun Breaking Heaven Punishing Divine Bow. This was actually a magical word that Jiang Chen came up with himself. Although there would be an illusory arrow formed when he pulled the bow, its power was equally astonishing. But now, the frost arrow formed by the Frost Prison Creation heavenly art possessed even greater power. It was attached to the illusory red arrow formed by the Great Yi Destruction Heaven Punishing Divine Bow, and had the effect of superimposing its power. And now, with the Great Yi Sun Breaking Heaven Punishing Divine Bow in his hand, Jiang Chen was confident that he could kill all 3 of them in one shot. Instantly kill 3 Immortal Realm experts. Chapter 268. Dark Night Deep Valley. It was pitch black, and one could not even see their own fingers. Only ferocious beasts could be seen. A snow-white demon wolf suddenly appeared. It seemed to have smelled the scent of flesh and blood. With a leap, it was like a bolt of silver lightning, tearing through the night. Its body was huge, even more muscular than 2 grown men. It landed without a sound, and its movements were agile and light. It circled around the human-shaped object in the valley, and began to predict danger. In its green eyes, the human-shaped object was motionless. Its aura was so weak that it was almost non-existent. It also emitted the scent of fresh blood. It was the best food. The demon wolf did not hesitate and pounced forward. It was as fast as a ghost. It opened its bloody mouth, revealing a mouthful of razor-sharp fangs. Blood and saliva splattered everywhere. But at this moment, the demon wolf was inexplicably frightened. Because the human-shaped object was quietly looking at it, its gaze as calm as an ancient well. "Mere demon, how dare you be so impudent?" Then the person suddenly opened his mouth and breathed out a stream of air. It quickly turned into a sharp light and slashed into the demon wolf's mouth. Rumble! The demon wolf was completely unable to dodge. Its internal organs were instantly minced into meat paste. It fell head first beside the human-shaped object, blood spurting from its mouth and nose. It died a miserable death. If there was a sword expert here, he would definitely be shocked. This was a marvelous technique of condensing qi into a sword. Without the strength of the life-soul realm, it was impossible to use it. How could it appear in the hands of a dying youth? Unfortunately, There was a dead silence in the deep valley. This human-shaped object lay quietly among a large number of broken branches. It endured the intense pain that surged from every part of its body, like a tidal wave. Who knew how many of its bones had been broken? It was only a breath away from death. But there was not much pain on its face. Instead, it was filled with shock. The Heavenly Sword sect's strength was almost on par with the Divine Tao sect. It had the reputation of being the #1 sect in the Tianyuan continent. Who would have thought that it would be destroyed so suddenly? The destruction of the Heavenly Sword sect also implicated all the sword cultivator sects in the Tianyuan continent. They suffered a devastating blow and were completely removed from the Tianyuan continent. In the end, the Heavenly Sword sect was too arrogant and too stupid. Sword cultivators are too strong, but they're not as strong as the mainstream of the Tianyuan continent. Led by the Divine Path sect, countless sorcerer sects are working together to suppress them. The Immortal Tao sect wants to get rid of the Heavenly Sword sect, and even all the sword cultivator sections. Who knows how long they have been plotting this? They have colluded with many master sects to work together. Even the demons and the various secret realms have been mobilized. His face was filled with anger and pain. He was not a disciple of the #1 sword sect in the Tianyuan continent, the Heavenly Sword sect, but he was still a sword cultivator. The blood-devouring sword emperor, Qin Juyo, had swept across the Tianyuan continent alone with his sword. He had killed countless experts and shocked the 7 secret realms. However, what shocked him the most was not this, but the place he was at, the cliff of the Heavenly Sword sect's heavenly stream. 70 years. I'm actually back. Ever since he had mastered his sword techniques, Qin Juyo had thought that his spirit would never be shaken by anything else, and that was the truth. Back then, the 3,000 sorcerer sects of the Tianyuan continent had worked together to kill sword cultivators. Although he was not a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect, he was still a famous sword cultivator expert. He could not escape his fate, and was killed by 13 top sorcerer experts. However, even then, he did not know what fear, despair, and shock were. Could that be eaten? However, after his last sword strike was invincible and killed 7 Emperor Realm Masters, Yang Kai suffered countless heavy blows and was on the verge of death, but he felt as if time had been reversed while he was in a state of chaos. When he woke up, he was shocked to find that he had returned to 70 years ago. 70 years ago, he was still a young man who admired sword cultivation and participated in the Heavenly Sword sect's disciple recruitment. His talent was outstanding, and he succeeded in one go. He even gained the appreciation of a condensed essence realm expert of the Heavenly Sword sect, who wanted to take him in as a disciple. In the end, he was hated by others and was beaten to the cliff of the Heavenly Sword sect's heavenly stream. That's right, it's here. I've returned to 70 years ago. In the sword room, Qin Juyo had already condensed the solipsistic sword spirit from illusory to corporeal. He was at the crucial moment of breaking through the life and death juncture and reaching the Heaven Star border realm. As though it had sensed this change, the Yuan Qi in the sword room went berserk. It turned into a vortex and swirled in all directions. Suddenly, Qin Juyo stood up. He grabbed the ironwood sword in his hand. As he raised his hand, he stabbed with the sword. The solipsistic sword soul vibrated as true energy, which had completely materialized, flowed along the sword and shot out in a majestic manner. Boom! A sharp azure ancient sword chi left the sword and shot out. It broke open the door of the sword room and disappeared into the distance amidst the flying rocks. Qin Juyo was very satisfied because this was the Heavenly Dipper realm. Unlike the soul-nurturing realm, where the sword chi could only be attached to the sword, the sword chi released by the Heavenly Dipper realm could leave the sword and kill enemies that were 100 feet away, or even hundreds of feet away. In the legends of ordinary sword cultivators, there were legends of powerful sword cultivators who could kill enemies 1,000 miles away with a casual slash. The sword chi slowly dissipated. However, it stirred up the Yuan Qi in the heaven and earth. In an instant, a storm was formed within 100 feet radius. It rushed to the sky, and even the clouds in the Langya Valley were stirred up. This is, in the Earth Profound Pavilion, Yi Wenshuan was concocting medicine in his own residence, preparing to give it to Feng Buxiu. However, all of a sudden, he felt a change in the weather. His expression changed slightly, and he rushed out without thinking. In a sword room in the Earth Profound Pavilion, Mu Fei was carefully absorbing the energy essence in the true origin crystal and merging it with his true qi. He didn't dare to take the risk. Even so, his cultivation was improving rapidly, and he wasn't far from breaking through to the next realm. However, at this moment, Mu Fei felt an extremely terrifying sword qi rushing towards him. Even the 1,000-feet-thick mountain could not withstand it. All the hairs on his body stood on end. The direction of the sword qi seems to be. With this thought, he couldn't cultivate in peace. He stood up and rushed out of the door. At the same time, many sword cultivator experts sensed it and immediately rushed over. Heaven's star border realm formed, and the wind and clouds moved. Everyone sensed it and rushed over. Qin Juyo didn't know about this. He kept his sword and walked out of the sword room. Before he walked far, he saw Yi Wenshuan, Mu Fei and the rest rushing over. Mu Fei was even more anxious. He was still far away and he shouted, "Junior brother, was the commotion just now caused by you?" "That's right." Qin Juyo didn't deny it. With such a huge commotion he couldn't deny it. Good, good, good. Junior brother, you've advanced to the Heaven Star Border realm so quickly. You're indeed a genius. Yi Wenshuan was ecstatic. He was even happier than if he had advanced himself. At this moment, Qin Juyo's other senior brothers and senior sisters like Bailey Xian, Xia Zian, Lung Jian and many other Earth Profound Pavilion experts rushed over. When they heard about it, someone laughed wildly. Haha, good. Good. Today, the Right House is holding a promotion ceremony for Tsingshan in the Langia Main Hall. It's said that the Langia Sword residence is in a special situation, and they need such good news to boost their morale. What a joke. In the past, only those who have advanced to the origin condensation realm are qualified to hold such a ceremony in the Langia Main Hall. There's a corresponding ceremony for advancing to the Heaven Star Border realm, but it's usually held in the Earth Profound Pavilion or Heavenly Sun Pavilion. Holding it in the Langia Main Hall is overstepping their boundaries. It's simply shameless. That's right. Sixth senior brother Lung Jian, who had rushed over, said with a cold face. Furthermore, I think that Tsingshan's talent is ordinary. After advancing to the Heaven Star Border realm, he was defeated by junior brother. He's not worth mentioning at all. It's fine if he holds a ceremony in the Heavenly Sun Pavilion, but no one cares about him. Is he qualified to hold a ceremony in the Langia Main Hall? He spoke bluntly and didn't hide anything. He had already advanced to the origin condensation realm and was stronger than fifth senior brother Mu Fei. He had the strength and status to speak like this. Qin Juyo naturally knew about such rules. As for Tsingshan breaking the rules and holding a ceremony in the Langia Main Hall, he had just heard about it. Qin Juyo pondered for a moment and said, "Let's go. We'll go to the Langia Main Hall and take a look at their promotion ceremony. After that, I'll advance to the Heaven Star Border realm. Although I'm not interested in holding a promotion ceremony, the Sword Tomb selection is a must." His eyes glowed brightly. The Sword Tomb selection was the opportunity that he had been waiting for. "Let's go. We'll all go and crush the Heavenly Sun Pavilion's prestige." Mu Fei immediately responded. The other Earth Profound Pavilion members also didn't want to see the Heavenly Sun Pavilion's prestige, and echoed. Only Yi Wenshuan was concerned about the overall situation. He wanted to stop them, but he couldn't go against everyone's wishes, and could only follow. A group of people clustered around Qin Juyo and walked towards the Langia Main Hall in a grandiose manner. The Langia Sword Pavilion was already in an uproar. Everyone was discussing who had advanced to the Heaven Star Border realm and had caused such a huge commotion. They had almost thought of all the famous young sword cultivators in the Langia Sword Pavilion and were in a heated discussion. However, they rarely mentioned Qin Juyo. Firstly, it was because Qin Juyo had only joined the Langia Sword Pavilion for a short period of time, and many people weren't familiar with him. Secondly, they had heard that Qin Juyo had just advanced to the 9th level of the soul nurturing realm. They couldn't imagine that he would break through the life and death juncture and reached the Heaven Star border realm so quickly. It's him. It must be him. Damn it. Why did this happen? On the sword tomb of the Langya Sword Way, Sing Shan's face suddenly turned ashen and gloomy. Although he didn't have any evidence, when he saw the terrifying sword chi that suddenly exploded in the sky, he immediately determined that it was Qin Juyo's doing. In Sing Shan's heart, if it wasn't for Qin Juyo's sudden appearance, he would definitely be the #1 genius in the Langya Sword Pavilion. Even a genius like him didn't cause such a huge commotion when he advanced to the Heaven Star border realm, let alone the other disciples of the Langya Sword Pavilion. Senior brother, are you all right? A disciple at the side saw that Sing Shan's expression wasn't right and asked with concern. Sing Shan was suddenly enraged. He almost wanted to grab the long sword beside him and slash. Fortunately, he restrained himself in time. However, the murderous aura that erupted still scared the kind-hearted disciple so much that he staggered back with a pale face. Senior brother, you. Sing Shan snorted coldly. He didn't even bother to choose a sword and rushed towards the Langya main hall. He came in a hurry and left in a hurry. This was natural. Originally, he wanted to choose a good sword and rely on the advantage of the weapon to have a showdown with Qin Juyo. Now that he had a premonition that Qin Juyo might have advanced to the Heaven Star border realm and was qualified to come to the sword tomb to choose a sword, Sing Shan's wishful thinking instantly failed. He lost all interest and hurried back to the sect to seek advice from the elders. The Langya main hall was packed with people. Most of them were from the Heavenly Sun Pavilion. For example, the Heavenly Sun Pavilion's deputy pavilion master, Yen Nantian, and some of the deacons and disciples of different levels were in the hundreds. Only those with sufficient status could stand in the main hall. As for the other ordinary disciples, there were too many of them, and they could only watch the show from the White Jade Hall outside. Originally, every disciple from the Heavenly Sun Pavilion was full of joy and smiles. After all, the genius disciples from the Heavenly Sun Pavilion were able to stand in the Langya main hall as an exception. They could also take the opportunity to bully the people from the Earth Xian Pavilion. They were in a very good mood. However, just when they were at their happiest, an extremely terrifying sword chi suddenly attacked violently. It was overbearing and austere. It was like a slap that landed heavily on their faces, causing their smiles to instantly disappear. Someone had advanced to the Heaven Star border realm. Furthermore, he chose to do it right when Sing Shan's Heaven Star border realm promotion ceremony was about to be held. This was clearly a provocation and a public slap in the face. Immediately an expert roared, "The Earth Xian Pavilion! It must be the people from the Earth Xian Pavilion who don't like our Heavenly Sun Pavilion and are playing dirty tricks behind our backs. Otherwise, how can those crooked disciples of theirs have the ability to release such a sword chi? Even Sing Shan's promotion couldn't cause such a change in the sky, let alone others." The people from the Earth Xian Pavilion actually came up with such a plan to attack our Heavenly Sun Pavilion. They must be dreaming. Someone was spouting nonsense, but there were also people who seemed to have thought of something, and their faces turned ugly. They clearly remembered that recently, the Earth Xian Pavilion had a new peerless genius. When he was still in the soul-nurturing realm, he had cleanly defeated Sing Shan, who had already advanced to the Heaven Star border realm, in the sword battle arena. At that time, it had attracted their attention. They immediately found an excuse to send Qin Juyo into the collection team, and instructed Duan Hu, who was in the Heaven Star border realm stage 3, to teach him a lesson. Who knew that Duan Hu would be so useless? As a Heaven Star border realm stage 3, he actually failed and ended up in such a miserable state. This also made them even more wary of Qin Juyo. Just as they were thinking of ways to get rid of this hidden danger, who knew that in just a few days, Qin Juyo would advance to the Heaven Star border realm. Many people who were good at scheming immediately gathered together and prepared a strategy to deal with this. Suddenly, the crowd was in an uproar. It instantly spread from the outside of the Langya main hall to the inside. All the discussions disappeared and turned into the sound of salutes. Coincidentally, Sing Shan arrived at the Langya main hall at this moment. When he looked over, he was shocked to see that the person leading the group was Yin Nantian. Sing Shan knew that originally, he didn't have the qualifications to hold the Heaven Star Border Realm promotion ceremony in the Langia main hall. It was the upper echelons of the Heavenly Sun Pavilion who fought for it for him. Even so, it was impossible for the pavilion master to come out and host the ceremony for him. Now Yin Nantian came out personally. Perhaps it was because of the explosion of the sword chi that caused the change in the sky. When Sing Shan thought of this, he was envious and jealous. Then he saw Du Hongling, who was following beside Yin Nantian. The young girl was delicate and looked noble and beautiful in the eyes of the crowd. Chapter 269. This energy came from their own attack, but it was reflected back at them. It was like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Both of them felt extremely bitter. Apart from that, there was also an indescribable aura. That kind of aura was like the aura of a supreme being. It was even more terrifying than the strength of a supreme being. It was this aura that was relentlessly following their claws and invading their arms. Moreover, it was still continuing to move upwards. Wherever this kind of aura passed through, it didn't matter if it was their bones, flesh, or meridians. Humph! Then he coldly snorted. The two terrifying attacks came at him at the same time. But he didn't have the chance to continue drawing his bow. He could only release the bowstring in his hand, which had already been pulled into a full moon, and shoot out the 3 arrows of extreme coldness. Then he put away the Sunshot Divine Bow. The Great Sun Destroyer Divine Bow was a long-ranged weapon. Jiang Qin's expression was calm. He flipped his palm slightly, and a small ancient bell appeared. Edited by Life or Fingerfox Boo. At this moment, 3 mournful cries were heard from Jiang Qin's surroundings. It was extremely short and soon it stopped. Apparently, the 3 immortal experts who were besieging Jiang Qin were frozen into ice sculptures by Jiang Qin's last 3 frost arrows. Then it suddenly crashed to the ground. After 3 consecutive bang, the impact with the ground caused the S to shatter into pieces. Then it fell to the ground. Another 3 immortal realm experts fell to the ground. All of a sudden, the immortal experts who were besieging Jiang Qin became even more flustered when they saw this scene. They felt as if there was a deadly scythe floating above their heads that could reap their lives at any time. This made them shiver in fear. Edited by Lifer. Fingerfox. The scythe of the death god came from Jiang Qin, who was like a devil. Under the extreme fear, they didn't dare to hesitate any longer. They immediately took out their treasures, or unleashed their most powerful abilities. Lights of different colors shone brightly as they began to besiege Jiang Qin. Edited by Lifer. Fingerfox. All kinds of magical weapons and divine abilities were launched towards Jiang Qin. What a pity! Jiang Qin couldn't help but sigh inwardly when he saw this. Jiang Qin shook his head with regret. Since he could only pull the bowstring twice, his day-breaking sun heaven-punishing divine palace had only caused the deaths of 6 immortal realm experts. There were still 9 immortals left, and the 2 at the front were even more powerful than the saints, so he had to be vigilant. Therefore, the following battles would definitely not be easy. Of course, if someone knew that Jiang Qin was still not satisfied after killing 6 immortal realm experts in such a short period of time, they would definitely curse him. Monster. Edited by Lifer. Fingerfox. Jiang Qin died. He was the first to arrive. It was Jinhua's attack. He glared at Jiang Qin angrily, his face full of anger. The golden claw in his hand struck towards Jiang Qin. At this moment, he thought that Jiang Qin was dead for sure. Even though Jiang Qin had a powerful offensive bow, his defense was probably at the level of an ordinary eternal creator. Jinhua was confident that Jiang Qin wouldn't be able to easily withstand his attack. She was even directly taken by him. He might even be torn into pieces. At the same time, Kong Feng of the Peacock clan had also flown behind Jiang Qin at some point in time. The green poisonous gourd in his hand clawed towards Jiang Qin's back. Kong Feng was confident that this grab could tear Jiang Qin's back into pieces. At this moment, at the same time, 2 terrifyingly powerful attacks descended upon Jiang Qin. At this critical moment, the divine flame in Jiang Chen's furnace burned fiercely. Abundant energy flowed out from Jiang Chen's furnace and flowed towards his limbs and bones, giving his body endless energy. Then, Jiang Chen injected this energy into the quaint little bell in his hand. At a glance, this simple and unadorned little bell did not appear to be much different from an ordinary little bell other than its simplicity. However, if one were to take a closer look, one would discover that the entire body of this small bell was engraved with mysterious symbols and diagrams. There seemed to be some kind of profound truth hidden within them, and it was difficult for anyone to comprehend the profoundness within them. Then, these abstruse symbols lit up one after another after receiving Jiang Chen's enormous energy. They bloomed with dazzling radiance. It was enchanting. The symbols that were emitting light floated around, and it seemed as though the entire ancient little bell had been lit up. Wang! Suddenly, a buzzing sound was heard. The quaint little bell in Jiang Chen's hand floated up by itself and hovered half a foot above Jiang Chen's palm. It seemed like it was cheering and was ready to be used at any time. Jiang Chen smiled slightly. He hadn't used this little bell many times since he got it. This time, he finally had the chance to use it. The last time he used this little bell was when he killed the sacred lords of the Great Luo Sacred Land, Azure Cloud Sacred Land, and Wavering Light Sacred Land. At that time, he hadn't broken through to the 5th level of immortality and couldn't activate the little bell's power. He had to rely on a relic to temporarily break through to the 5th level of immortality to activate part of the bell's power. But now, he was already at the 5th level of immortality in creation realm. He didn't need to rely on external forces anymore. He could now activate part of the bell's power. Thinking of this, Jiang Chen's eyes focused. He whispered, "Bell of no beginning, rise." As soon as Jiang Chen's words fell, the bell of no beginning let out a buzzing sound, as if it was jumping for joy. Then it suddenly expanded. In an instant, a strange phenomenon appeared. The quaint bronze bell that emitted abstruse and mysterious Dao runes appeared around Jiang Chen's body. It was like a defensive barrier, wrapping Jiang Chen's body in it. Countless Dao runes floated up and down, emitting endless divine light that enveloped this small space. At this moment, Jiang Chen's defense could be described as impregnable. 1-8. It was like an iron bucket. Nothing could penetrate it. At this moment, the sharp claws of Jinhua and Peacock descended on the quaint bell of no end. They came into contact with each other at the head of the bell of no beginning. Boom! Boom! In an instant, 2 earth-shattering sounds were heard from the bell. The void trembled, and ripple-like patterns formed, as if it was being suppressed. At the same time, Jinhua and Peacock's ferocious claws that bombarded the bell of no beginning were twisted the moment they came into contact with it. It was twisted in an instant, and the nail shattered. What? Damn it! What is this thing? At the same time, Jinhua and Zifeng suddenly felt a powerful force rebounding from the bell of no beginning. It was transmitted to their claws. Skin are all torn apart in an instant, collapsing the field. King, seeing that the aura was still spreading. How could Jinhua and Kong Xian still maintain their calm? Their expressions changed immediately. They gritted their teeth and used their other hand as a knife. Radiating with magical power, they ruthlessly chopped off their arms from the deepest part of their arms. After chopping off their arms, the qi tore their arms apart. 20__. But the good thing was that this qi SW's aura dissipated as well. Jinhua, Kong Xian, and Zifeng looked at each other with palpitating hearts. Their eyes were filled with luck. If they hadn't cut off their arms in time, perhaps that inexplicably strong aura just now would have directly torn their bodies into pieces and destroyed their intranet. In fact, even the spirits hidden in their foreheads might perish along with them. Therefore, they didn't frown when they lost their arms. Instead, they were extremely glad. Just as the two of them chopped off their arms, the other Immortal Realm experts' ferocious attacks came at the same time and bombarded the bell of no beginning. Suddenly, a series of earth-shattering sounds shook the bell of no beginning. The bell of no beginning shone brightly, turning all the attacks into bubbles. Among them, the attacks that were condensed with magical powers were still okay. When they bombarded the bell of no beginning, They were directly scattered by the power of the Bell of No Beginning among the two kings of Singso. There were some who used magical treasures to attack. It was a little tragic. Their precious magical treasures were destroyed. They were directly torn into powder by the power of the Bell of No Beginning. The destruction of the magical treasures that they had nurtured for many years directly caused the owner of the magical treasures to suffer a backlash. At the same time, there were 4 Immortal Realm experts who were injured by the backlash from the destruction of their magical treasures. Their faces alternated between red and white. Then, they spat out a mouthful of blood with a bitter expression. Blood. Their auras became extremely unstable. The one who suffered the most was the man who was hit by Jiang Chen's extreme cold arrow. This time, he was affected by the backlash of the magical treasures. He was also in the same category. Originally, he was a little weak. He had to divert too much of his attention to control the extremely cold magic power that was constantly roaming and destroying in his body. Therefore, he did not dare to use his divine ability to bombard it, in case there was a mishap when the magic power was circulating. But now, the backlash of the magical power caused a serious consequence. It directly caused the magical power in his body to circulate, giving him a lot of time. Inside his body, there were traces of the explosion of magical power everywhere. Every meridian was directly destroyed, and the extreme cold magical power that was suppressed by him. At the same time, it also exploded. Therefore, in an instant, he was directly frozen into an ice sculpture by the extreme cold magical power. Then, under the gaze of the moon, he fell to the ground powerlessly and turned into a pile of fragments. For a moment, several Immortal Realm experts around him were frightened. They immediately retreated a distance away. At this time, there were a total of 15 Immortal Realm experts who were besieging Jiang Chen. Even Tu Ming and Qi Jin, who had already fallen, were only left with 8 of them. Among them, a large portion of Tai Yi had suffered serious injuries. In a short period of time, almost half of the experts from the 2 clans, who were originally aggressive, were directly killed. Jiang Chen, who was besieged by them. Instead, he was enveloped by a strange ancient bronze bell. He was actually unscathed. The other experts of the 2 clans were all frightened. The situation seemed to have been completely reversed. Although Jiang Chen was protected by the Bell of No Beginning, he didn't take the initiative to attack, but now he had the upper hand. The experts of the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan and the Peacock clan. Unexpectedly, they were at a disadvantage. Such a shocking scene was naturally seen by the experts of the Tai Yi Sacred Land and the 2 demon clans who were fully focused on the battle here. For a moment, everyone was shocked, puzzled, frightened, shocked, excited, and proud. Everyone looked at this scene. Their hearts were filled with thoughts. They were unusually shocked. Is this really something that an Immortal Realm expert can do? A clansman of the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan. An Immortal Realm expert looked at the shocking scene in the distant sky and secretly swallowed a mouthful of water. His tone was somewhat difficult. The shock that Jiang Chen gave him was too strong. X5 Firstly, he had never seen someone as strong as Jiang Chen. Not to mention that the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan didn't have one. Even the entire 3,000 Great Worlds. None of them were as terrifying as Jiang Chen. Hearing their voices, the rest of the clansmen of the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan and the Peacock clan felt the same. Their eyes were filled with fear. Even an Immortal Realm expert couldn't withstand such a powerful attack. Then, wouldn't it be even more unstoppable for us, the weaklings of the Immortal Realm? Some of the clansmen of the Peacock clan thought so. For a moment, the atmosphere of fear and panic spread out from the clansmen of the 2 clans. Every clansman of the Golden-Winged Great Pung clan and the Peacock clan felt a serious crisis. It was very likely that, if the Immortal Realm experts of the 2 clans couldn't kill or stop Jiang Chen, then, in that case, it was very likely that weaker existences like them would be slaughtered like chickens and dogs by Jiang Chen, who had the time to deal with them. They regretted coming here to apply for the operation to destroy the Tai Yi Sacred Land. If it wasn't for this, they might still be under the heavy protection of the elders of the 2 clans in the Great Demon World. They wouldn't have to face such a dangerous situation where they might die at any time. Book 7 Gu, who wanted to experience the destruction of a sacred land, had completely abandoned that thought at this moment. She only wanted to save her own life. You must win. The two clansmen of the demon race were staring at Jiang Chen's battlefield. They prayed with extreme vigor. It seemed that at this moment, Jiang Chen, who was besieged, had become the hunter. The clansmen of the golden-winged Great Peng clan and the Peacock clan, who wanted to destroy the Tai sacred land and kill Jiang Chen, had become the prey instead. At this moment, the situation between the weak and the strong was reversed. Chapter 270. As for the people of the Tai Holy Land, they were impressed by Jiang Chen's strength. In just a short period of time, Jiang Chen had killed the immortal realm expert and injured some of the others. Everyone's aura was boosted by this. He's too powerful, worthy of being the Saint Lord. Kill them all, because they know that our Tai sacred land is not an existence that they can bully. The Saint Lord is mighty. Both the disciples and elders of Tai sacred land saw the battle in the void. Everyone in the field looked excited. They were cheering. Li Daoi, the supreme elder, and the others. Looking at this scene, they nodded with relief. Thus, Tai sacred land no longer needed to worry about their safety. Instead, they should be worried about the golden-winged Great Peng clan and the Peacock clan. Thinking of this, Li Daoi looked at those figures that were floating outside the formation. His eyes were filled with killing intent. If it was possible, he wouldn't mind killing all of them with the Tai sacred land painting. On Jiang Chen's side, he was floating in the void above the ground. The without beginning bell was shining brilliantly with an ancient divine aura, protecting him within it. No attacks could hurt him. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. Now, the 8 people who had besieged him, including Jin Hua and Kong Feng, had all suffered some injuries. They were afraid of the backlash from the bell of no beginning. Thus, they did not dare to attack again. In other words, as long as Jiang Chen kept using the origin bell to protect himself and didn't go out to fight with them, he would be invincible. But my idea is not limited to being invincible. Within the no beginning bell, Jiang Chen's moonlight was filled with cold killing intent. He looked at the people around him. These people dared to come to Tai sacred land, looking for trouble with him. Facing such an enemy, looking for trouble with him. Facing such an enemy, he, Jiang Chen, had always been merciless. He would have killed all of them. This fella, Gong Jinhua and Peacock, looked at Jiang Chen, who was standing inside the bell of no beginning. Jiang Chen's cold eyes made them shiver. They knew that Jiang Chen wanted to kill all of them. Although they couldn't break through this strange ancient bell-shaped magic treasure in a short period of time, they were still delusional to think that they could kill all of them. Then, just as they were thinking this, they were shocked to see that Jiang Chen had taken back the bell of beginnings that was protecting him. Jiang Chen's figure appeared in front of everyone. What is he trying to do? When Jin Hua saw that Jiang Chen's body was exposed, he immediately wanted to attack. However, just as he was about to attack, he was afraid that Jiang Chen would take out that ancient bell-shaped magical treasure. By the force of the backlash, when he was on the stage, he actually hesitated. Jiu and Kong Feng were the same. When the others saw that Jin Hua and Kong Feng did not make a move, they did not dare to make a move. And then, between such hesitation, the corner of Jiang Chen's mouth curved up as he took out the peerless Dao tool, the Tai sun-splitting divine bow. As soon as he took it out, it caused the wind and clouds within 5,000 miles to change color. The air pressure suddenly dropped, and it emitted a trace of an ominous feeling. Jiang Chen once again assumed the posture of drawing the bow, pulling the bowstring to a full moon. Then, he circulated the frost hell creation heavenly art in his body. They slowly descended from the sky and gathered on the Dai sun-splitting divine bow, forming 3 extremely cold arrows. 6 extremely cold auras were emitted from them, causing one's soul to feel as if it was about to freeze. Not good. He's going to use that technique again. Jin Hua and Sun Feng saw this and knew what Jiang Chen was thinking. Their countenance immediately changed, and they were about to take action. The immortal qi was blooming in their hands. and they were preparing a terrifying attack. However, even so, their reaction was still a bit slow. Their divine abilities had not been formed yet. Jiang Chen's Tai Sun-splitting divine bow had already formed. The 3 arrows of extreme cold had already taken shape. Then, without any hesitation, these 3 extremely cold arrows were shot out at an extremely fast speed, hiding in the void and sneakily attacking the 3 immortal realm experts. Jiang Chen, how dare you do this? Jin Hua and Kong Feng saw this, and their faces were filled with anger. They also shouted in unison. Then, their hands blossomed with the radiance of their divine abilities. He struck out with his hand towards Jiang Chen, with the movement technique of the 3 extremely cold arrows. No matter what they did, there was no way they could stop it. The only thing they could do now was to attack Wei to save Zhao. They could only save the 3 of them by attacking Jiang Chen and forcing him to do so. However, just as their divine abilities were about to land on Jiang Chen's body, Jiang Chen smiled faintly. A small bronze bell appeared in his hand, and with a surge of vigorous divine energy, another gigantic divine bell appeared and stood on Jiang Chen's body, covering him within. Boom! Boom! 2 loud explosions rang out. Jin Hua and Kong Feng's divine ability attacks landed on the huge bronze bell. Then, they were all received by the bell of no beginning, causing ripples to appear on the surface of the bell. Zero Ku Ah! Jiang Chen's Tai Sunsplitter and Heaven-Punishing Divine Bow's 3 arrows of extreme frost were finally able to be dodged. However, the 3 Immortal Realm experts were still shot by the second diamond. Just like the previous 6 Immortal Realm experts, the 3 Immortal Realm experts were also shot in the forehead. Their divine souls were destroyed. Then their bodies froze, turning into 3 translucent ice sculptures. In the end, they fell to the ground, shattering into shattered ice crystals. Demon! He's a demon! Qi Jin's 3 Immortal Realm experts were shocked when they saw this familiar scene. Their faces turned pale with fright, as they retreated tens of thousands of feet away from Qi Jin. Zhao Nuo's, they were really scared. They had never seen such a terrifying Immortal Creator Realm expert before. In just a short period of time, there were only 5 of them left. How was this a human kid in the Immortal Creator realm? He was clearly more terrifying than a primeval saint. Damn it! When Jin Hua and Kong Feng saw this scene, they cursed angrily in their hearts. They had never seen such a troublesome person before. Even if they managed to kill Jiang Chen in the end, it wouldn't make up for the loss of so many immortal experts that Jiang Chen had killed. The Golden-Winged Great Peng clan and the Peacock clan had fallen in the Heavenly Yellow Great World. 8 lifetimes of bad luck. If they knew this would happen, they would not have come to the Heavenly Yellow Great World to avenge Jin Liang. They could have waited for the world barrier outside the Heavenly Yellow Great World to disappear completely, and let the ancient saints of their clan descend to the Heavenly Yellow Great World to kill Jiang Chen. But now that things had come to this, it was too late to say anything. They had no choice. They could only use all their means to kill Jiang Chen, even if they had to pay a high price. Only by doing so could they vent their anger. But if I want to kill Jiang Chen, I can't continue like before. I have to use all of my trump cards. Killing Jiang Chen was carried out in a swift and decisive manner. They were the Golden-Winged Great Peng clan and the Peacock clan. As a member of the demon race, their strongest means came from their powerful bodies. Hence, 7 people, Jin Hua and Kong Feng, who were standing on top of Guang Yi, spoke directly. Show your true form. After saying this, their bodies blossomed with golden divine light and 7-colored divine light. Vaguely, a huge figure slowly took shape in the divine light. The remaining 3 Immortal Realm experts from the 2 clans gritted their teeth and transformed into their true forms when they heard that. 2-time. The 363 spatial zones shone brightly. 33 Golden-Winged Great Peng clan and 2 Peacock divine beasts appeared in the void. They were domineering, ruthless and cold. Their bodies were so huge that they almost covered the sky and the earth. Every move they made caused the void to tremble slightly. Immediately, they rushed towards Jiang Chen's bell of no beginning and surrounded it. Their sharp beaks were opened and divine light was condensing inside. A total of 5 village of divine light appeared. Then, they rushed toward the Bell of No Beginning and surrounded it. The dermic powers of the 5 Immortal Realm experts turned into a ball of fire, burning the Bell of No Beginning in an attempt to burn it down. Within the Bell of No Beginning, the temperature around Jiang Chun did not rise. It was still the same as before. However, the magic power in his body seemed to be supplying it to the Without Beginning Bell to defend against their attacks. It was continuously pouring into the Without Beginning Bell. Jiang Chun discovered that the rate at which he was expending his energy had sped up. Of course, it was only a slight increase in speed. To Jiang Chun, it didn't have much of an effect on him. His magical energy was extremely dense, and he did not need to worry about it. However, when he looked at the figures of the 5 Tao ministers outside the Bell of No Beginning, he immediately knew what they were thinking. Hihi, are you trying to drag me to death with the magical power of an immortal realm cultivator? Aren't you being a little too presumptuous? Jiang Chun sneered. Perhaps these golden-winged heavenly Peng and Peacock thought that Jiang Chun's magical energy was not as abundant as theirs since he was an immortal realm expert. Moreover, they could not break through the defense of the Bell of No Beginning. That's why they came up with such a plan to exhaust Jiang Chun's magical energy. At that time, Jiang Chun would not be able to resist at all. If it was an ordinary immortal realm expert, the magical energy in his body would definitely be less than theirs. Moreover, the Bell of No Beginning required a huge amount of magical energy. He would not be able to withstand their exhaustion, and their plan would succeed. However, the one standing in front of them was Jiang Chun. In Jiang Chun's body, he had awakened 15 million ancient mammoth cells, which meant that he had the magical energy of 15 million ancient mammoths. How terrifying was 25 million ancient mammoths? Even Jin Hua and Kong Feng, who had a trace of the qi of the ancient saints, could not compare to Jiang Chun's strength. They were far from it. In front of Jiang Chun, who had such a vast amount of magical energy, it was a joke to compete with him in terms of consumption. Jiang Chun was never afraid to compete in terms of consumption. Moreover, the divine elephant overpowering strength, the ancient mammoths could suppress hell forever. Their magical energy was terrifyingly abundant. Otherwise, they would not be able to suppress hell forever. Not to mention, there was still the furnace in his body that could provide Jiang Chun with an endless supply of energy. Qi, who was in the fragments of the furnace, should have absorbed almost all of the Buddha demon ripple's source. At that time, Jiang Chun would also receive 90% of the feedback. Without mentioning anything else, Yun Che's magic power was definitely one of the most powerful existences in the world. He would not be afraid even if they were to compete here for a year. Therefore, for a moment, Jiang Chun and the 5 Immortal Realm experts were in a stalemate. Jin Hua and Kong Feng could only suppress Jiang Chun, but could not do anything to him. Moreover, they did not dare to stop for a moment, as they were afraid of Jiang Chun's counterattack. They did not dare to stop spewing out divine light from their mouths. Although Jiang Chun was secretly communicating with the Dai Sun breaking heaven punishing divine, about to find a chance to counterattack and kill a few more Immortal Realm experts, he could not do it. After all, it was impossible for him to withdraw the Bell of Beginnings and attack again. He was afraid that he would be hit by the divine light first. After all, the gap between their realms was still quite big. If he was hit, he was afraid that even with his immortal immortal body, he would suffer some damage. Moreover, the magical energy in his body was extremely abundant. There was no need to worry about consumption at all. Let's see who would be the first to give up. Just like that, the sky was in a stalemate. Such a scene was witnessed by the people of the Tai Sacred Ground, the Golden-Winged Great Peng clan, and the Peacock clan. They could feel the stalemate between Jiang Chun and the 5 experts. If Jiang Chun won, then the people of the Golden-Winged Great Peng clan and the Peacock clan who stayed here would definitely die. Similarly, if Jin Hua and Kong Feng won, then the people of the Tai Sacred Ground would definitely be slaughtered. At such a critical moment, as their lives were at stake, everyone stared fixedly at the sky, not daring to slack off in the slightest. During this period of time, the people of the 2 clans no longer had the mood to attack the Tai Sacred Ground. because they knew that if Jiang Chun won, it would be meaningless even if they massacred the entire Tai sacred ground. At that time, they would still not be able to escape death. At the same time, if Jiang Chun was defeated by the experts of the two clans and fell, it would not be too late for them to slaughter him then. Hence, above the void, endless divine light formed a divine fire, burning Jiang Chun and the Bell of Beginnings. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these 2 days, all the forces in the Xuanhuan Great World knew about the great battle in front of the Tai sacred ground. The 4 great empires of Chongyang, the remaining 6 Tai sacred grounds, the Western Desert Buddhism, the Yinyang sect and some other sects that were not qualified to be called sacred grounds were all extremely shocked. Everyone knew that this astonishing battle was related to the future of the Xuanhuan Great World. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.